Chapter 61. In the world of space survival, there are over thousands of different traits. Some are so powerful that they can completely change the situation, and there are traits whose approval through the review process raises questions. With various effects, traits related to physical transformation are naturally present. Among them are traits like body transformation, which I acquired from the wolf I devoured earlier. They are beings reminiscent of space-age werewolves who have the ability to transform into beastly form for a limited time duration. In fact, when the players used to play as wolves, their primary objective was to unlock its beastly form. In pursuit of better existence and evolution, they might be somewhat similar to a morph. The reason I'm mentioning this is that my current body changes resemble the transformation of the wolves. Although my original form was already monstrous, the new transformation was more akin to a beast than a monster. The outer covering that covered my head grew rapidly, covering my eyes, obscuring my eyes, and the horns became long and massive, just like spears. The originally 3 m tall body became much larger, making it impossible for me to fit inside the room. Thanks to the effect of perfect organism, the muscles attached to the reinforced combat arms became thicker and more powerful, totally reshaping them. Only the covering at the wrist grew unevenly, resembling small shields with tiny thorns that could be used not only for defense, but also for offense. The spine projectile organ of the lower left arm also changed significantly. The original rifle-like shape changed to that of a cannon. Moreover, it has 3 barrels. That means it can shoot 3 rounds at once, consecutively or simultaneously. Thanks to this, there was now no shortage of long-range firepower. Even up to this point, it was shocking, but the most significant change occurred on my back. My arms have elongated. 2 additional arms emerged from my back, which, unlike my other arms, had 4 joints with crescent-shaped, elongated bone blades designed exclusively for combat and killing. Was this the reason why I was not able to use my wings? Given that the sensation while moving the arms was almost identical to the feeling of moving wings, the arms on the back were undoubtedly devices replacing wings. I swung the arms on my back a few times. Every time I swung the bone blade attached to the end of the arm, there was a threatening sound as the air was cut. Certainly, the symbol of the hunt was a change that lived up to its name. And even though I can't see it, this vivid feeling explains it all. The enhanced auxiliary organ compensated for my lack of vision, so I don't regret losing it for now. Thanks to them, I could not only sense the changes in my body, but also read the movements and appearances of people throughout the entire building. I could even hear the heartbeats of the 4 individuals in reinforced suits. Powerful traits come with a cost, and such dramatic changes in my body inevitably demand immense energy, risking starvation as a post-effect if not managed carefully. As I contemplated stepping out, a plasma bolter-wielding knight aimed at my room, unleashing its destructive force, the plasma energy. I need to get out of here first. This way. And... what? A voice distorted by mechanical sounds reached my ears. The emotions within it were filled with confusion. Surprisingly, despite the impact, my outer skin remained largely intact, merely scorched. Sensations akin to a slight tongue burn from hot coffee was what I felt. Is it okay? I brushed off the soot on my outer covering with the combat arm, then crawled out of the room. Due to my large size, I was unable to bend my waist, so I moved in a semi-leaning position, sticking the combat arms to the ground. Even then, my massive frame filled the corridor completely, and unlike before, the enemies seemed overwhelmed by my increased size, staggering back. GRRRR, PL Plasma Bolter doesn't work on him. Everyone retreat. When I growled, the enemies quickly began to retreat. The situation was quite amusing. I put strength into my tail and swung it forcefully. The tail not only broke the corridor wall, but also struck the knight at the back of the enemies. The reinforced suit, which was easily able to destroy concrete walls earlier, crumpled at the impact. Crack. The waist of the knight hit by my tail bent unnaturally. It was a fatal injury that should have resulted in instant death, but he didn't die. Perhaps he was equipped with a life support system as an option. Fifield? Damn it, it's too late. We need to retreat and regroup. Shit. Instead of chasing the other knights, I approached the injured one called Fifield. Since my jaws are now reinforced, there should be no problem in eating him as it is. I activated the metal absorption effect, and with the thought of returning to the nest, I left the current ongoing stealth function intact. I grabbed the knight with my combat arms. The superior reinforced suit he wore was a thing close to an armor suit. Therefore, despite being nearly 3 m tall, he still had to look up at me as my height was even more than him. Cough, our Silver Lion Knights, you! Though his voice was modulated by machinery, the cough couldn't be concealed. Blood pulsated within his armor as if he had coughed up blood. I stopped attacking for a moment, not to save him, but because one word in his sentence caught my attention. Silver Lion Knights. The only faction in Megacorp that uses the term Knights is the Eden family. They sent someone here. If you play as the Eden family, you will be provided with mercenaries called the Eden family's Knights as a perk when you become the head of the family. In the game, the name is determined randomly, but in real life, it seems to be called the Silver Lion Knights. Well, since the board meeting is going to be held soon, all the 7 must have sent their representatives. It was highly likely that individuals from other families would also bring a substantial number of escort forces, similar to these Silver Lion Knights. Some of the noble families have mercenaries whose existence is fixed in the system, as the Eden family have the Silver Lion Knights. However, not all families have such mercenaries, so I need to confirm that myself. Anyway, since there was no more information to extract from the prey, I swung my tail at the knight's head. The sharp and sturdy bone blade pierced through the visor helmet of the advanced reinforced suit, lodging into the guy's forehead. As the blade was pulled out, blood and brain matter splattered, and the reinforced suit stopped functioning upon the owner's death. Inside the destroyed helmet, the face of a young and handsome Caucasian man appeared. He might have been quite popular in his lifetime, but now he was nothing more than a corpse with brain matter oozing from the hole in his forehead. I opened my mouth wide and bit into the knight's corpse. Due to my enlarged body and flexible jaw, I could fit his entire chest into my mouth at once. Applying force to my jaw caused the advanced reinforced suit to shatter immediately. Flesh, blood, and organs spilled out, flowing into my body. It felt similar to chewing on a piece of candy with a delicious filling. Looks like this guy underwent some modifications, too. The taste was truly exceptional. Although the reinforced suit, nearly indistinguishable from a chunk of metal, was a minus factor, the interesting texture made it somewhat palatable. The knight in the reinforced suit became nutrient for my body in just a few minutes. With my enlarged body, I easily consumed the 3 m tall prey. After finishing the meal, a semi-transparent text box appeared, but I ignored it. Now is still the time for hunting. I need to diligently catch the prey that's running around until the effects of the symbol of hunt disappear. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Your Excellency, Chief Administrator Layla has prepared a bouquet for you. Huh, when did she prepare that? As you may know, she is Samdam Kemblin's daughter. Her resourcefulness shouldn't surprise us. TCH, Samdam's got a lot of luck. Denver praised the now-adult Layla Chamberlain's skills. Currently, he is staying in the top-notch room located within a luxurious room in the Monument skyscraper, a high-rise building in the administrative district. There seemed nothing special about it until he entered the room. Every facility and decoration in the room matched precisely with how it was in Denver's office. It wasn't just the appearance. Even the materials and vintage of the furniture were identical. He's a well-organized guy with his kids. Unbeknownst to the public, a clandestine alliance existed between Prime Capital's Eden family and Noble Capital's T&C. Ever since Denver had ascended as the head of the T&C, which provided funds for Denver's ambitious project, the Hulk mutant development, securing Eden's votes in return. Denver had conversed with Samdam beforehand, sealing this deal. In return for the money, Denver was required to vote for Samdom Kemblin of T and C in the board meeting. Layla might not know, but Denver had already finished negotiating with Samdom and had come here for another purpose. Anyways, I was thinking of calling William, whom I haven't seen in a long time, but I didn't expect such an incident to occur. Upon witnessing an old subordinate attempting suicide right in front of him, Denver was quite surprised. The William in his memory wasn't someone who would contemplate taking their own life. Please, Denver mulled over William's last words. What could the old subordinate of his have requested from him? In the past, when the first project concluded in an unfortunate manner, Denver had ensured substantial compensation for the project team members. It can't be because of credits. Even if credits were urgently needed, would it be more urgent than one's life? Denver didn't think William would resort to self-harm for such trivial reasons. A problem he couldn't solve on his own, and a very urgent matter. Unfortunately, Denver wasn't well versed in the affairs of the T&C Special Trade Center. While he had intricate knowledge of the political issues within the T&C, understanding what kind of problem would drive a regular police officer to risk their life seeking help was challenging. I need to gather information about William. Having organized his thoughts, Denver inquired of the vice commander, what happened to the one who attempted suicide? He is currently at the hospital in the commercial district. The surgery went well and he's currently in a recovery capsule. Since he's an old friend and subordinate of mine, be considerate in your dealings with him. I have assigned 4 members of the Silver Lion Knights to his security. They're all veterans, so you don't need to worry. If it's you, I can be rest assured. True to the deputy commander's affirmation, it was a neatly handled matter. Denver, nodding in approval, issued additional instructions to the deputy commander. Also, look into the recent public safety issues in the city for me. Public safety issues. Is there anything specific you're curious about? Yeah, I have some questions. Understood. I'll investigate and report back by tomorrow. Denver nodded, and as he had to prepare for the banquet, the vice commander stepped outside the room. While he couldn't understand why Denver was so concerned about a police officer who had disrupted the welcoming ceremony, the deputy commander didn't question it, as he was familiar with his unpredictable commands. Similar to the Silver Lion Knights, they were merely the eyes and arms of the monarch. It was not their place to doubt the one wielding the black blade asterisk. Asterisk PR/N Proli, a weapon used by the soon-to-be head of the Eden family back in his quarters. The deputy commander summoned another knight. This was to fulfill Denver's instructions. I will investigate along with the members. I appreciate it. After dispatching his subordinates to fulfill Denver's orders, the deputy commander took out an elegantly decorated communication device. I should double-check the situation in the hospital as well. The Silver Lion Knights were one of the top special forces in the city of Eden, composed of seasoned veteran warriors armed with advanced reinforced armor and various deadly weapons. Given their status, the deputy commander wasn't particularly concerned. He only intended to verify that everything was proceeding as usual. However, today's operation didn't go as planned. Arg, damn it, Milburn is down. Deputy Commander, we need reinforcements. Fifield and Milburn are already down, Ag? From the other end of the communication device, hell was unfolding. Chapter 62. Suddenly, William woke up from his sleep. It wasn't someone deliberately waking him up. It was the vibrations he felt from something covering his body. Where am I? As he opened his eyes, a lukewarm liquid tickled his eyes. After blinking a few times, his eyes gradually adjusted. Currently, he was submerged in a healing capsule, wearing a respiratory device. I'm not dead. At the time of his suicide attempt, William had resigned himself to death. It was because the noble capital had made a mess of the welcoming event for the prime capital. Because of him. Layla Kemblin, the owner of this city, was a rational lady but not exactly merciful originally. William shouldn't have been waking up in a healing capsule with his brain intact. He should have been dead. The fact that he was safe in the hospital was probably thanks to Denver protecting him. That meant William's plan had partially succeeded. I hope His Majesty understands my intentions, Thud. Once again, The liquid surrounding him vibrated. Something, possibly the healing fluid or the entire healing capsule he was in, shook due to some external force. What's going on? There can't be an earthquake. There shouldn't be any seismic activity in an artificial structure floating in zero-gravity space. Thud. This was a vibration occurring within the hospital, as if something heavy was shaking the whole hospital. Could it be thud? William felt a chill running down his spine. The fact that something substantial enough to shake the hospital was moving around this late at night meant only one thing. It had come for him. Thud. The vibrations grew stronger. It was getting closer to him. At that moment, the door to the intensive care unit opened, and a person clad in silver armor rushed in. His expression was hidden by the armor, but his frantic movements hinted at his state of mind amidst the chaos. The knight noticed William, who was awake inside the healing capsule. Operating the terminal, the treatment liquid drained out of the capsule's openings. "Are you awake?" William nodded as he came out of the capsule. The knight handed him a patient gown. "I am not sure what's happening in this hospital, but an unidentified creature is attacking us." William knew who was pursuing him, but he couldn't answer. There was still the parasite inside his head. If he spoke or even thought of it in a disrespectful manner, the parasite would cause excruciating pain. The higher the disrespect, the more intense the suffering. If he mentioned the parasite to the knight now, the agony he'd faced until now would be child's play. Revealing the parasite in this situation would only worsen things. Regrettably, silence was his only option. What about the people in the hospital? All my comrades were killed by that thing. The people in this hospital, probably. He didn't finish the sentence, but William could understand. Central AI likely detected the crisis and called the police. I've also requested reinforcements. We have to hold on until they arrive. Understood. William felt a sense of déjà vu. A similar situation had occurred before, during the battle in the apartment. Back then, he had believed that he and the android could handle it without much difficulty. And what was the result? They lost all their comrades, leaving only one police officer alive who was also made deprived of his freedom, turning into a puppet. Thud. At that moment, a loud noise came from across the door. It had reached the door. The knight stood in front of William, wielding a plasma bolter in one hand and a blade claw in the other. William, a former soldier, knew well what a blade claw was. The blade claw was an enhanced version of a sonic blade, a weapon with two ultrasonic saws attached to the back of the hand. It was much heavier than a sonic blade, but had superior durability and cutting power. It was primarily used by armored soldiers or Hulk mutants. If it were any other creature, William wouldn't be concerned, but the problem was that the knight was facing an adversary that was it. Engaging in close combat with that thing is suicide. Having fought against the monster before, William was convinced that the knight had no chance of winning. I should get out. It won't start a rampage outside. It avoids human eyes. Having been a slave to the monster for a while, William knew what it feared. The vicious creature avoided direct confrontation with the city and only operated in the dark. It only fed on what William offered, occasionally attacking the ones chasing him. This gruesome hunting occurred only during the hours when there were no people, usually in the early morning. Therefore, William intended to persuade the knight to jump out of the window. Certainly, many civilians would get hurt, but it was better than losing his life. If William died, the damage would be far greater. However, there was something he didn't know: the current state of the monster. With a roaring sound, the steel door was blown away like a piece of paper. The wall partly collapsed and dust filled the air. It's here. William squinted his eyes due to the dust. Standing on the fallen debris was a figure wearing armor identical to the Silver Knight. What is this? No, precisely speaking, he only appeared to be standing. It seemed as if he were suspended in the air, caught by something. Charlie. Arun, ugh. The one called Charlie tried to say something but couldn't finish his words. His body twisted grotesquely, and a cracking sound emanated from the armor. Charlie's desperate scream turned into 3 distinct cries. His body was torn into 3 pieces. Red blood, organs, and bone fragments mixed and splattered on the ground. Oh my God! Some of the blood from the corpse flowed down, carrying something invisible in the air. It was then that William understood why the knight didn't run outside. It had somehow turned invisible. Moreover, it was implemented at such a high level that was usually possible with the help of highly advanced technology. Despite the blood obscuring his vision, William, with keen eyesight, recognized it. Ordinary people wouldn't be aware of its existence, even if they went outside to check. "Get down." The knight grabbed William's head and pushed it down. Thanks to that, William barely managed to bow his head in time. Something barely missed his head. He didn't know what it was wielding, but the creature's weapon seemed immense. It was enough to slice through not just the healing capsules, but also the entire wall. Due to the creature's attack, people inside other healing capsules were also sliced in half. The floor was covered in a pink liquid mixed with blood and treatment solution. "Damn, I'll hold that thing off." "Survive until backup arrives. I must inform our leader." I will. Please." Without waiting for William's response, the knight rushed towards the invisible monster. Asterisk, 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 this is troublesome. The knight had interfered just as I was about to kill William with my tail. Perhaps due to the detection equipment embedded in his advanced reinforced suit, the knight accurately perceived my movements. "Go anywhere, just run quickly." "Damn it." Ignoring the knight's words, William leaped through the collapsed wall. I had no intention of letting him escape. I swung my tail towards him, but my intention to rip his limbs apart was thwarted by the plasma shot from the knight. The trajectory of my tail deviated to another direction because of it. Instead of piercing William's side, the poisonous stinger at the end of my tail stuck into the wall of the corridor. Startled, William clutched his head with both hands and escaped. Hi-ya! Since that attack failed, I decided to finish it with my bone spikes. But the knight, with a war cry, forcefully shouldered me, hindering my attack. With the weight of over several hundred kilograms of reinforced armor and propulsion that exceeded the output of a small spacecraft's power source, the combined force was terrifying enough to bring down my body, which weighed more than twice that of the reinforced armor. Due to the knight's charge, I was pushed through the broken corridor to the opposite side of the critical care unit. As the walls crumbled, the patients and on-duty doctors hidden inside were startled and rushed outside. Kaya, save us." Even though my current form was not visible to others, I couldn't let them escape as is. I launched my spike bones from the tip of my lower left arm, piercing through the backs of those who were exposed. Kek, ack. Unfortunately, I was only able to kill a maximum of 3 people with one shot of the spike bones. One survivor sprinted away at a speed that made me wonder if someone could run that fast. Where did William go? While I was capturing the survivors, William had already distanced himself from me. Confirming that he ran through the emergency stairs, I turned my head again and faced the knight. The knight had no intention of protecting the innocent victims. Instead, he kicked the bodies spread on the floor, seemingly annoyed by their obstruction. "You are killing innocents, you vile monster." The knight's actions didn't match his words, but it wasn't particularly strange. The Knights of Eden was a special unit composed of the upper-class members of the Megacorp. Their concept of honor was designed to build a positive image externally, but had little to do with reality. They probably know that the patients staying in the hospital are of low class, so they treat them like that on purpose. But they are all potential sources of food. Looking at the knight, who seemed to have had no training in how to prepare for the dinner table, I calculated the remaining time. The effect will last for about 8 minutes. I had planned to kill William first and then leave, but the knight kept bothering me. I estimated the remaining time until the effect wore off. Ignoring me, the knight activated the blade claw on his arm. Blade claw. In a normal situation, the plasma bolt would be a far superior weapon to the blade claw, but in the current limited circumstances, the blade claw was not a bad weapon. Like the sonic blade, the blade claw specialized in destroying armor with high defense. Die. The knight, firing suppression shots with the plasma bolter, rushed towards me. Plasma shots flew towards the tentacle under my chin. I wasn't sure if he deliberately aimed there, but the auxiliary system wasn't reinforced under the effect of the symbol of hunt. I crossed the upper combat arm over the lower one to block the plasma shots heading towards the tentacle. In the meantime, the knight approached me and swung the blade claw from bottom to top. He wasn't targeting my head but my combat arm. Two saw blades made a gruesome sound, cutting through the air. I stepped back, widening our distance, and used my arms as a shield to block the two spinning blades. The collision between the ultra-vibration saw blades and my alloy-reinforced shell generated sparks. He calmly aimed the plasma bolter at me from close range, showing no signs of surprise. His composure was excellent, but his intent was bound to fail as I still had plenty of weapons at my disposal. My tail targeted his waist, piercing through the darkness and dust. Cuck! Instead of firing the bolt, the knight twisted his waist just in time to avoid my tail. I swiftly grabbed his hand holding the plasma bolter before he could step back. "You dare!" Thinking we were engaging in a power struggle, he exerted force on the arm holding the bolter. Because of the enhanced strength from the advanced reinforced suit he was wearing, his strength was comparable to mine. Our combined weight, exceeding that of a ton, pressed down on the hospital floor without both of us moving. He grabbed my arm with his other arm as the concrete floor cracked from our fight, probably planning to push me away. But he was mistaken. My intention was not to engage in a strength contest with him. The bone blade on my rear arm flew towards his shoulder. Queuk! The blade, at least 50 cm in length, pierced through the knight's body, invisible due to the darkness and dust. The blade lodged deep inside him, turning his insides into a complete mess. I shook the rear arm a few times to worsen his injuries before pulling it out. With no strength left to stand, he slumped down on the floor. Forgive me, my lord." There was no time to listen to his last words. I kicked his head with my legs while he was still kneeling. Even with a heavily armored suit covering the entire body, it couldn't protect the neck or joints. When the rubber plug burst, I fell back with the knight's lifeless body. The fallen knight's corpse had a neck much longer than when he was alive. I need to eat everything here and leave. To maximize the effect of the symbol of the hunt, I had to eat every strand of genetic essence over here. Anyways, with the parasite inside his body, William can't escape. The parasite was saying that William hadn't left the hospital yet. I checked his movements while stuffing the corpses into my mouth. Some were delicious, some were not, and I wasn't able to fully enjoy the meal due to the limited time I had. The text boxes kept popping up after each meal, but I ignored them. I planned to check them later because there wasn't enough time now. I don't need new traits right away. The time it takes for the absorption of traits to be automatically canceled when not acquired is 10 minutes. There is still plenty of time before trait selection. Fortunately, the corpses of ordinary people seemed to transition smoothly, perhaps because they were wearing patient gowns. Thanks to that, the meal ended earlier than expected. Only took 2 minutes, the remaining time for metal absorption should be around 10 minutes. It was enough time to capture and consume William. Now, let's go. The signal was coming from upstairs. I led my massive body there, ready to find the traitor. Asterisk, 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 huke, huke, huke. William panted heavily, leaning against a cabinet as if he was about to be engulfed. The gust of wind caused the cleaning tools inside to spill out. William gripped a high-pressure washer, a rather pathetic weapon against the monster, but he had no other choice. It wasn't certain if he could even wield it against the creature in the first place, considering the parasite was still alive in his head. "Damn," William lamented. He had been loyal to Megacorp. He was closer to someone who captured those doing wrong rather than being someone doing wrong. Megacorp, however, was an organization that inflicted pain on many, a group far from justice. Loyalty to such an organization might not be considered just, but at least William believed his convictions still held some values. However, his beliefs were powerless in the face of a disaster that an individual could not handle. He, a courageous soldier unafraid of death, was different when it came to that monster. The overwhelming terror paralyzed him and awakened a primal emotion within him, fear. William grasped his trembling thighs together, trying to calm himself down moments ago. He could still hear androids causing a commotion outside, but now it was quiet. He held his breath, pressing his ear to the door. The sound of a patient murmuring in the corridor reached his ears. The voice sounded muffled, like it was coming from a broken radio. Seeing a survivor indicated that the creature had likely moved to another floor. His reasoning was based on the absence of the heavy footsteps that the creature made while walking. Now's my chance. William cautiously opened the door, but what greeted him in the hallway outside the tool room was a ruined corridor. The ceiling lights were all destroyed while some were sparking sporadically. The patient beds, once neatly arranged, were either bent or broken, seemingly having hit with a powerful impact. He was the only person on the hallway that was so damaged that it was impossible to imagine a clean image of the hospital. "I foo, ND." Then, the voice resounded again. Only now did he realize who the owner of the voice he heard was. He thought the sound didn't transmit well through the blocked door, but that wasn't the case. The voice was naturally like that, eerie and distorted, like coming from a broken radio. The creature had been waiting for him to come out from behind the door. William tightly closed his eyes. As soon as his eyes closed, his body was thrown into a disarray by something transparent. Chapter 63. "Damn it, Peter, Charlie." Vicuse, the vice commander of the Lion Knights, continued to attempt communication. However, the sounds emanating from the communication device were nothing but ominous static. The last message he received was from Peter, informing him that his colleagues Milburn and Fifield had perished. Since then, there has been no word from Peter or Charlie. This could only mean one thing: they might all have been wiped out. This won't do. "I need to dispatch the knights quickly and report about this to the Lord." Vicuse quickly summoned the waiting knights. With the troops guarding Denver and those investigating security dispatched elsewhere, he had a force of only 20 knights at immediate disposal. The armed knights filed into the spacious guest room allotted to the vice commander, each removing their helmets. The knights were of different races and gender. Among them there were a fair-skinned woman with reddish-blonde hair, a Caucasian man with black hair, and a black-skinned man with a shaved head. Despite their differences, they all shared one common trait: their exceptional facial features and their towering height. While the public praised Denver for prioritizing his image, Vicuse knew the truth. They were the results of genetic enhancements under Denver's directives, known as the Hulk Mutant Project. "Vice Commander, did you call for me?" The black-skinned man respectfully bowed before Vicuse, drawing him back to the present. Vicuse briefed them on the situation. "The situation is dire. We've lost contact with the team assigned to protect the police officer under Lord's orders." "What?" "We sent Charlie, Peter, Milburn, and Fifield to the hospital. Since Peter's last communication 5 minutes ago, no one else has responded." Silence fell among the Lion Knights. Everyone present in that room knew the extent of the force of the Lion Knights. Therefore, the news that 4 of their own had fallen was not something they could easily overlook. "So I will report to the Lord immediately. Jacob, I entrust the command of these men to you in my absence." "I will do my best, sir," for such an incident to occur right before the council meeting. After sending the knights to the hospital, Vicuse hurriedly headed towards the banquet hall. The Lord wishes for Samden Kemblin to become the CEO, and now this happens. As Denver's closest confidant, Vicuse was well aware of what he was aiming for. Before coming to this city, Denver had met Samden in advance to discuss how the council meeting would proceed. During the discussions, Samden expressed high expectations for his daughter Layla, and Denver understood Samden's intentions. Although Vicuse wasn't sure how Layla felt about it, he had no ill feelings towards her. Therefore, before coming here, he made many preparations to assist her. With all the preparations done, now only the smooth progress of the council meeting remained. Yet, such a major incident occurred. Finding out who killed the knights in the hospital is important, but the more important thing here was the fact that an agent of Prime Capital died on the territory of Noble Capital. Competitors of Samden are not likely to let go of such a good opportunity. If they just let this slide, it will undoubtedly be talked about. Before the CEO election between T&C and Eden, the CEOs traditionally engage in a verbal battle. While conspiracy and plots are expected during the CEO voting process, any irregularities on the surface were unheard of. Officially, Megacorp is an organization that elects its CEO through democratic procedures, and any irregularities are not tolerated. T&C and Eden were in alliance with each other if this gets leaked ahead of the CEO election. It could undermine the legitimacy of the CEO appointment and even jeopardize the T&C family's status in Noble Capital, and would also cause Samdom to be excluded as a CEO candidate. But Denver's hard stance might pose problems too. Deliberate criticism of T&C could backfire, especially among Eden's elders who were unaware about this alliance. They might opt for a different candidate, rendering T&C's financial support for Denver's Hulk mutant project futile. How can I handle this? His thoughts racing, Vicus could see the door to the banquet hall in the distance. A woman was being inspected by security guards before entering the door. She was Layla's secretary, someone Vicus knew well. Up close, he could see that her complexion had turned pale. She must have come here for the same reason he did. Even lady? Vice Commander too. They exchanged glances, saying nothing but understanding each other's thoughts. It seemed like tonight's banquet would be a long one. Asterisk, 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 the existence that annoyed me is now dead. Despite judging it as competent and deciding to spare it, the outcome turned out to be a mixed bag of gains and losses, a reflection on an individual's assessment. I have to keep in mind that this is reality. My life is at constant risk here. I have to be extremely cautious, especially when dealing with humans, at least until I acquire the infection enhancement type. Time to dismantle the central AI and exit. Carrying the now-deceased William, I descended to the basement. As I was going down, I took a bite of his upper body first. I should have eaten a bit earlier. Maybe because he suffered due to me. His taste was bland. The quality of the meat was good, but it felt like the meat got rotten due to improper storage in the refrigerator. While eating, a parasite came out of the corpse's nostrils, as if asking not to be eaten. It went back to his house on my arm. When only one leg remained, I arrived in front of the server room where the main computer was located. I put down the leg I was eating and smashed the door with the horn on my head. The 10 cm thick alloy door, powerless against a morph's formidable strength, broke with a loud bang. The central AI, detecting my intrusion, loudly warned, "Warning, warning, unidentified life form detected." I destroyed the speakers hanging on the ceiling corners with a swing of my tail and put an end to the irritating noise, leaving only the regular noise of the air conditioning in the server room. Let's break the cooling system computer first. Although there were numerous computers in the server room, I had raided many hospitals when I played the game. Once you get here, it's not much difficult afterwards. I systematically knocked down the computers lined up at the right end. Sparks flew, and the red light in each computer diminished. A moment later, all the internal fans stopped, and the temperature inside began to rise rapidly. The sensitive electronic devices inside screamed at the rise in temperature that even surpassed a sauna. This is not the end. Using all my arms, I successively destroyed all the data server devices one by one. All the computers were either shred to pieces by my combat arms or were turned into unrecoverable waste. Thanks to my enlarged body, destroying all electronic devices in the spacious server room was easy and didn't take that long. Now that I've destroyed the important devices, I decided to finish the rest with another method. I bit my arm and created a wound and sprayed acid all over. Thanks to the effects of perfect organism, the effect of the acid inside me had increased significantly. The electronic devices touched by the droplets melted without a trace. Then, a short circuit occurred in the broken computer's wires, and flames suddenly erupted all over the room. It's enough for here. I walked smoothly through the fire and entered the inside of the server room. The fire was unable to do anything to me thanks to my reinforced exoskeleton. Inside, there was a cylindrical computer wrapped in reinforced glass. That was the main computer containing the central AI and controlled the whole hospital. Green numbers constantly appeared and disappeared on its matte surface in a non-reflective black color. That cylindrical computer had a design unique to Megacorp and looked like the AI computer inside the spaceship. Warning! Warning! Central AI under threat of damage. The AI issued its final warning in electronic sounds as if not wanting to die, but it was meaningless. I launched bone spikes towards the reinforced glass. The glass wall shattered. It not only broke the glass, but also pierced through the main computer. However, I was not satisfied. I had to completely destroy it so that the enemies won't be able to retrieve the data. I remember making a similar mistake back then. I once infiltrated a hospital in a space city in the game to kill someone. At that time, I was a quasi-saint with 6 types in my possession. Therefore, assassinating enemies without getting caught was very easy, perhaps because it was too easy. I became careless, and because of that, my abilities were exposed to the central AI. The organization members of the hostile clan that I killed were easily able to obtain my information through the central AI. They sought revenge by spreading the strategies I used in the hospital on the community forum. It became challenging to create new strategies as the old ones became useless. Of course, I later paid them back twice as much, but I don't want to recreate those memories. I sprayed my acid blood to completely dissolve the main computer. It all went well. After leaving the blazing server room, I finished eating William's remaining leg. Once again, a text box related to the predation effect appeared, and as I was about to skip it, I saw something. Wait. What's this? I quickly checked the text box. Predation effect activated. Successfully obtained insight genetic essence. Extracted the insight among the biological characteristics of William. Do you want to apply insight? Insight. I'm familiar with this ability too. When activated, it allows me to see the unique features, traits, skills, etc. of a living being or object with my naked eyes. I can't know everything, and the information I can obtain is randomly determined, limited to 5 times a day. For example, if you use insight on someone wearing reinforced armor, you might get information about the armor instead of the wearer. Or sometimes if you want to know about the information of the armor, you will get information on the wearer. Also, if you tried to use insight more than 5 times a day, it would become unusable and you won't be able to use it in the future. I was curious about what would come out of William, but for this to come out. William always had sharper intuition than others, so it made sense that he had such an extraordinary ability in him. It was probably because of that he found out about my weaknesses and forced me to corner myself. Come to think of it, William was the first one who cornered me in this city. Although he was not as powerful in combat as Si-Hyun Yujin or the Hulk mutants, he targeted my weaknesses with just his intuition. Though I had infected him with a parasite, he didn't give up and continued to be a headache for me until the end. The one who used to be an enemy is giving me a gift at the end. Although he was an enemy in the past, it was forgivable at this point as he gave me such an amazing gift. As shown in the system panel, insight is advantageous in player vs player fights, or PK. It's not an ability I immediately need since I don't fight players one-on-one yet. I'm happy, because insight is a psychic trait. Including insight, I now have a total of 6 psychic traits. This means that I have successfully fulfilled all the conditions for the psychic reinforcement type. The acquired traits from Eden Knights and the Patients are still pending until they are cancelled, but the newly obtained insight is different. It's an opportunity to acquire a type. I can't miss this. I immediately accepted the acquisition of insight. As the trait applied, I felt a change in the structure of my eyes. It was as if the inside of the eyeball became stiff, similar to the feeling when tired, and there was a twitch in the brow. Despite the tingling sensation, I remained still as the natural changes due to the trait application occurred. Perhaps because the applied area was not large in size, the transformation quickly ended. I activated insight and looked around. Despite acquiring it, there was no change. There should be random information about objects, but I couldn't see anything. Right, I won't be able to see anything now. Insight is a trait that must be confirmed with the naked eye for its effects to take place. Currently, my vision is obscured due to the effect of the symbol of Hunt. Naturally, I can't see anything. Well, it doesn't matter because there are more important things to do right now. I decided to check the effect of insight later and brought up the text box I had been waiting for. There exists one type that can be specialized. You want to unlock the psychic reinforcement type. After acquiring the first type, the second type was waiting for me. Chapter 64. In the game Space Survival, all traits and skills exist within specific categories. For instance, the wings I initially obtained, and special traits like the chitinous exoskeleton fall under the physical category, while the psychic power organ I gained by devouring Kesaragi belong to the psychic category. Among these categories, the most potent and strongest traits are concentrated in the Abyssal Force and Dragon Power categories, where exclusive Vortex 1's traits and traits of the Red Galagan are found. Vortex 1s are the species that appear as bosses in the final mission for Outspacers. As boss-exclusive entities, they naturally exhibit overwhelming power. The Red Galagan is one of the most formidable creatures in the game, posing a significant challenge even for high-rank players. Consequently, the powers of these two entities are not accessible to regular players. Even the dragon power of the Red Galagan can only be used to a limited extent by the cult, and that too through a specific artifact acquired with a low probability in the late-game quest. Only a handful of players would have access to it. Now, let's slightly modify the question. Among the categories containing traits and skills accessible to players, which one is the most powerful? The answer to this question may vary among high rankers, but most would likely point to the psychic category. The psychic category offers a variety of versatile traits and skills applicable in various situations. While the physical category also provides potent techniques, it has decisive limitations. It leans heavily toward physical attacks and defenses, making it vulnerable to non-material assaults. On the other hand, psychic powers can exert formidable physical force while possessing destructive capabilities against the mind, soul, and more. Due to this imbalanced game structure, Outspacers and Star Union cyborgs, who cannot obtain psychic powers directly, became increasingly disadvantaged in the late game, relying solely on equipment to counter psychic powers. Players who choose biological races like Megacore can acquire psychic powers through genetic modification. However, competing without psychic powers against them is naturally challenging. One drawback of psychic traits and skills is that obtaining them is not easy. However, this issue can be resolved if you play as a cultist. Wasn't the cultist user base around 30% in the game? Rankers, in particular, had a much higher proportion of being cult members compared to regular users. Considering that 9 out of 20 rankers in the game were cultists, one can guess how popular the cult faction was. Notably, one of these 9 was a Korean, a fact I deduced because I competed directly against him. This Korean cultist proved to be a formidable opponent. His skills surpassed my expectations of him as a high ranker. His creative use of psychic powers, often associated with traits like telekinesis and telepathy, introduced me to new strategies during our intense battles. Despite my eventual victory, I learned a lot from our fights. He also broke my misconception that cultists may have good equipment. But there are a few cult players who are actually skilled. While I already utilized psychic traits, my understanding increased significantly after battling this Korean cultist. Now, applying this experience, I sought to become a perfect organism for the application of psychic enhancement type, enhancing all my psychic power traits. It is a necessity if one wants to properly use traits related to psychic powers. While I often utilized psychic traits, my understanding of psychic powers increased significantly after battling the Korean cultist. Anyway, it's time to start applying the experience I gained back then. To properly use traits related to psychic powers, a type is necessary. Acquiring the psychic enhancement type makes me a complete organism for its application, enhancing all the psychic power traits I possess. There are currently 2 external devices on my body for using psychic powers: the auxiliary organ below my chin and the cluster of tentacles at the back of my head. Though there weren't any significant changes to the auxiliary device, The tentacles related to the monstrous tentacles trait underwent substantial changes. Firstly, the shape of the exoskeleton covering my head transformed. The previously smooth and simple structure now expanded more widely to protect the tentacles at the back of my head. Additionally, intricate patterns and grooves appeared on the outer surface, giving it a more complex appearance than before. If the previous head exoskeleton could be linked to a helmet with a horn at the center, the current design resembled that of a giant crown. Though the size will decrease once the effects of the symbol of hunt ends, the fact that the appearance has become more impressive than before made me satisfied. Along with the changes to the exoskeleton that covered my head, the tentacles also underwent significant changes. They became thicker, longer, and more vibrant purple in color. As soon as the transformation of the tentacles concluded, my entire body felt a tingling sensation. The psychic power resistance enhancement effect manifested itself on the exterior in the form of a vivid purple tattoo on the monochrome exterior. The tattoo, following the course of veins, was etched across my entire body. Though I was not able to see it, because my vision, which was currently obscured due to the effect of the symbol of the hunt, but the developed auxiliary organ allowed me to feel the changes in my body as if I were seeing them directly. With these enhancements, I gained a heightened sensitivity to psychic energies around me, perceiving faint purple energies that were previously unseen. Even in situations where the cultists aren't directly using psychic powers, I can detect psychic powers. In the game, it was limited to simply highlighting psychic power users on the minimap in violet. But in reality, I could experience the same astonishment and freshness I felt when I first came inside the game and became a hatchling. With this level of sensitivity, I might be able to detect the psychic power users even before they attack me. It would be highly useful when fighting against the cult members. Originally, I could detect the flow of psychic powers with my auxiliary organ, but it was not as precise as it is now. It will be much easier to fight against cultists or enemies using psychic powers in the future. Satisfied with obtaining the type, I ascended to the first floor of the hospital. The metallic absorption effect is still ongoing. Now, all that's left is to return to the nest where the kids are waiting. Just as I was about to step out into the lobby, my senses picked up a strange feeling. 20 knights wearing advanced silver-reinforced armors emerge from the alley. A knight with bikini-shaped armor at the front speaks, "Divide into 3 groups. Group 1 with me, Group 2 with Tennessee, and Group 3 with Paris." The knight with an eagle-shaped armor responds, "Understood. Group 2 this way." The knight with a shield says, "Sir Jacob, people are gathering around the hospital." The knight, Jacob responds, "Reporters, I presume, leave their handling to the police." With that, the sensation, like watching a sped-up video, stopped. Predator sense. The method of displaying the video is the only similarity, though it is also too detailed. Everything else is different. Predator sense activates only when there is any life-threatening situation. Moreover, it doesn't show the future as it did now, but rather depict a fragmented representation of the upcoming danger. What I just saw was much more detailed than usual. It showed who was speaking, where they were coming from, everything. Did Predator sense also get influenced by the effect of the symbol of the hunt? The symbol of the hunt enhances all the traits I possess, and with the psychic enhancement type I just got, Predator sense might have improved too, depicting a future danger more precisely than it usually used to do. If that's the case, then there is still time for them to arrive. One might suggest fleeing during that time, but if I did, Predator sense wouldn't have been triggered. There's a station near the path they're taking. The concealment effect is still active, but the issue is that they can detect me. Going out like this will undoubtedly expose me. Fighting them isn't the problem, but there are too many enemies. Even if I manage to annihilate them somehow, the time of the concealment effect would most likely be over during the fight. Even if I go around them, there is still Group 3 consisting of 6 knights waiting in front of the station. There's no way I can avoid a fighting with them. The real issue is the time. I'm still under the effects of the symbol of hunt, so I could easily kill the 6 knights, but killing without alerting anyone is the main problem. Originally, I came to the hospital to avoid exposing my identity to the city. If I boldly reveal myself while claiming to escape unharmed, it would be a clear contradiction. Should I call the kids? The current time is 10:30 p.m. At this time, the station should be under inspection because of the upcoming council meeting. Since the council meeting hasn't started yet, there is a high possibility of inspection today as well. I was previously caught here only at this time. Before coming here, I explained this to number 26. I told them to come out if the station is dark when I contact it. Sea demons, creatures living in the deep sea, are sensitive to light. Probably number 26 can detect a broader spectrum of light than me, so there shouldn't be difficulty following the plan. But words and reality are two different things. I need to time the signal well. Our coordinated operation is not bad, but for it to succeed, it's crucial that I give the signals appropriately. With the improved auxiliary organ, if I focus, it won't be difficult to grasp the situation inside the station. No, wait. At that moment, a different thought suddenly occurred to me. I tried emitting the usual wavelength through which I talk to number 26. Z, are you there? Big baby. Z. Hey, listen to me, okay? Hey, big baby, what's going on? It worked. I thought it might not work, but just in case, I tried it, and it was successful. The means by which I communicated with number 26 was through the psychic organ which I got after killing Keisaragi Yujin. When I didn't have this organ, I could only hear what number 26 used to say, but it was impossible for me to talk to it. Currently, even though it has been reborn as a tentacle of a monster, the communication ability from before still remains. Thanks to this, I've been using it well when communicating with number 26. I had forgotten about it because I used it so naturally. Also, the function that helps me communicate with it is also a target for the application of the effects of psychic power enhancement that I just got. Are you on your way to the nest? Z. No, there's something else I need to do right now. What? Do you need help in this way? I don't need to bother timing my call to number 26. I can just speak directly with it when needed. I told number 26 that I would give it a signal soon, so be prepared. While it is preparing, I also need to get ready. Just in case, let's check all the traits I've gained until now. When the text box initially passed by, I thought there was no immediate need for traits like insight, so I ignored it since there was plenty of time to check when I got back to the nest. However, now that the situation has changed, I might be late for the nest, so I should check them right now. The number of traits I obtained from the hospital, excluding the ones I got from William, is 5. I got 3 from the knights and 2 from the civilians I killed at the hospital. The symbol of the hunt raises the probability of activating predation effect, but it does not make it 100% obtainable even if I've eaten many people this time. The likelihood of the predation effects activating for every one of them is very low. Still, I obtained a surprisingly large number of traits in a short time as compared to usual. Let's apply all of them quickly and get out. I looked at the text box and quickly scanned the contents. Predation effect activated. Successfully obtained space bacteria genetic essence. You want to apply space bacteria? Predation effect activated. Successfully obtained fire breath genetic essence. Do you want to apply fire breath? Predation effect activated. Successfully obtained endurance genetic essence. Do you want to apply endurance? Predation effect activated. Successfully obtained thorn hair genetic essence. Do you want to apply thorn hair? Predation effect activated. Successfully obtained pheromone enhancement genetic essence. Do you want to apply pheromone enhancement? No need to ask further. Apply them all. When I obtained the perfect organism, the text box left me with these words. There is no end to evolution. The body has evolved once again due to all the newly acquired genetic essence. Chapter 65. Did you enjoy your meal, Mr. Denver? It was more than enjoyable. The tea and Seaticus reputation is well-deserved, especially the main course. It's a dish I've never tasted before. It is an oven-roasted dish with earthland pork as the main ingredient. Raised through pure free-range in an environment that is similar to that of Earth, it has a very rich texture. I thought that all the pigs on Earth had gone extinct. My research team managed to succeed in cultivating the pig seeds after coming from a difficult expedition. We plan to introduce a new brand to the market in a few years. Well, that's impressive. I definitely want to purchase it when it hits the market. The T&C family is a pioneer in noble colonial expansion. Their power lies in the abundant resources they have secured from their numerous colonies. Thanks to this, the T&C could secure their influence in a distinct way compared to other families. Politics through cuisine. That was how they exerted influence on the upper class of Megacorp. They own more than a few hundred colonial planets, meaning they can acquire various ingredients from planets with different environments. As a result, T&C almost monopolizes the high-end ingredient and spice market, mainly targeting the upper class of the megacrop. Of course, in terms of supplying food within Megacorp, the Eugen family, which specializes in producing genetically modified foods, has a much higher share as they target all the low-income groups within the Megacorp. However, the benefits gained by actively using fresh and rare ingredients to maintain a good relationship with the upper class are not insignificant. In fact, it works wonders, like now Denver felt reassured after eating the banquet's cuisine, enough to anticipate seeing Layla again. I deliberately chose this dish to suit my taste. The room, the cuisine, everything catered to Denver's preferences. With this level of information, the likelihood of making a significant mistake at the council is slim. Denver, feeling relieved, picked up a crispy piece of pork skin with his fork just as the door to the banquet hall opened, and two people entered. What's happening? The newcomers were Layla's secretary and Vice Commander Vicus. Both hurriedly approached their respective masters. My lord, urgent news. Urgent? We lost contact with the 4 knights who went to protect William. Denver's face hardened at the Vice Commander's words, all 4 of them. The Silver Lion Knights are a unit stationed with the task of protecting the flagship of Eden, which specializes in defense and assault against enemy ships, and is the most crucial unit of any fleet. Therefore, the capabilities of the Silver Lion Knights, who were tasked with safeguarding this flagship, can be considered to be the highest among the Eden family's ground forces. Warriors of such caliber being wiped out hinted at a formidable adversity. What's the follow-up plan? It's already in motion. I dispatched all the 20 knights available. Jacob is leading them. Also, recall the members sent outside immediately, Denver, calmly instructing Vice Commander Vicus, suddenly stopped speaking. On the other side of the dining table, Layla, receiving a report like Denver, had an unusual expression. Her usually composed face was visibly distorted. Having heard about the reports from the secretary, she tried to maintain composure and called Denver. Mr. Denver. There's a report that the Silver Lion Knights forcibly attacked the civilians at the hospital in the commercial district. What? I'll show you. As Layla gestured, the secretary operated the terminal pad, and a large holographic screen appeared at the banquet's wall. I am Daily Mass Field Reporter Sarah, and I'm currently standing in front of the Commercial District Hospital No. 2, the scene where a tragedy has occurred. The screen showed a journalist reporting from in front of the hospital. Surely not. When Denver glanced at Vicus, he nodded slightly. That place was the hospital where William was admitted. In the meantime, the journalist appeared with a new figure. The person in question was a man wearing a patient's gown. Can you explain what the hell is going on in there? I was injured while working and was hospitalized. I came out to smoke at night, but I saw 4 people in weird clothes come in. They were trying to destroy the hospital, shooting guns and breaking the intact walls, and even shooting the people. Everyone went crazy. You mean people in armor? Yes, armor, those beep guys in armor. They shot guns, and the walls that were intact broke, and beep people also beep. It was a complete beep disaster. Thank you for the detailed explanation. With the council meeting just a few days away, What does the massacre of civilians by the armor-wearing individuals in T and Citicus Special Trade Center mean? What exactly are the city administrators doing? More details. Midway through, Layla gestured to stop. The hologram turned off and the banquet hall fell into pin-drop silence. Layla, breaking the silence, spoke first. "Mr. Denver, I don't believe Eden's Knights would do such a thing without reason. This matter is not exclusive to the Eden family. I, as the administrator of this city, have the right to know about the situations occurring in the city. So please tell me." It was a request to tell everything before the situation escalated, and blood was forced to shed. During the banquet, Denver had taken a friendly attitude, making Layla realize that Denver was friendly to T and C and had no ill intentions. Therefore, she politely requested cooperation, expressing that this issue was not just a problem for Eden but for the entire city. The problem is, she doesn't know about the situation on Denver's side. Initially, the Knights were sent to protect William, but since all of them had perished, the possibility of William being alive was slim. The current situation became difficult for Denver, as the only one who knew the truth had died. Any mistake could lead to a war between T and C and Eden rather than an issue with the council. I have to tell everything. Taking a deep breath, Denver briefly explained the situation to Layla. He told her about William and the orders he had given to his subordinates. "Does that mean there's a connection between the so-called William and the police?" "That's right. A few days ago, a mysterious smuggling organization failed to smuggle a mountain crawler from Harbor Earth, and they fled. I heard that. It might be related. Whether the culprit is the mountain crawler or not, check it yourself, Vice Commander." "Yes." "Contact Jacob. We need to understand the situation there, so tell him to turn on the cameras." "Understood." The Vice Commander Vicus contacted Jacob through the communication device, and as Layla's secretary did before, operated the terminal pad. Reporting. "Silver Lion Knights." Jacob greets the commander. "The camera is synced, and we are approaching the second hospital. Team 2 Tennessee sync completed. Arriving at the back gate. Team 3 Ferris sync completed. No abnormalities." As Jacob operated the terminal on his helmet, the cameras attached on his helmet and Vice Commander Vicus' terminal synchronized. Through the hologram, the scene of the hospital, which was shrouded in smoke, was revealed. ******, Team 2 is entering through the back, and Team 3 is on standby. Figures clad in silver armor were swiftly encircling the hospital with smooth and agile movements. Their coordination and agility showed that they were proper elites, and on a whole different level as compared to the opponents I've encountered so far. If I were in the hospital, it would have been quite a challenge to fight against them, but I'm already outside. I was currently observing the enemies from a nearby media building, having left the hospital. The auxiliary device on my chin was continuously collecting information on the movements and conversations of the enemies, who had their full attention on the blazing hospital. While there isn't a significant change in its appearance, the upgraded auxiliary device is capable of detecting even the conversations exchanged through communication devices. Thanks to their verbal communication, I know exactly where the enemies are entering and how they plan to attack me. Team 1, enter. Team 2, enter. After confirming their entry, I descended down through the wall of the building. Since all the journalists rushed out to the front of the hospital in search of breaking news, the building was devoid of people. As I landed on the ground, I ran towards the station. Although my footsteps made loud noise, due to the surroundings being extremely noisy with police, journalists, ambulances, and fire trucks present, no one noticed my presence. Team 1, confirm a fire inside the building. Team 2, switch to the vibration detection system instead of the heat detection. Team 2, switch completed. Team 3, on standby. Even while running, the auxiliary organ did not stop gathering information. Among the plethora of information, it extracted the part where enemies communicated through communication devices and relayed it to me. There's not much time left. While there's still some duration left for metal absorption, the symbol of the hunt is the issue. Out of the limited 10 minutes, I spent around 8 minutes in the hospital. The remaining time is roughly 2 minutes. I need to devour as many journalists at the station as possible before the effect wears off. The Eden Knights are all genetically modified humans. While not as extensive as Hulk mutants or experimental subjects like Si-Hyun Yujin, they are prey with more useful genes than ordinary citizens. Might as well take advantage of the situation. To truly become an amorph, I need to devour everything the enemies possess. Thanks to the symbol of the hunt, the time taken to reach the station from the hospital was extremely short. I saw 6 knights standing guard in front of the station. They didn't notice me running towards them. Hence, I decided to utilize my newly acquired long-range attack. Thorn Spine Launch Tail. A mechanism that launches lethal thorn spines is developed on the tail, replacing the spine projectile organ. Asterisk note. Unlike hedgehogs, a morph doesn't have to worry about dilemmas, which must be nice. The appearance of my tail changed significantly. The end of the tail is now covered with long spine needles, reminiscent of a porcupine or a hedgehog with densely packed needles. The combination of the spine needle feature and the spine projectile organ resulted in a new capability. Unlike the spine projectile organ, this one shoots in volleys. If the previous one resembled a sniper rifle, this one could be considered a machine gun. While it lacks the penetration power of the spine bone, it has the advantage of burrowing into the opponent's body upon impact, causing wounds to go inward. Additionally, it can apply a neurotoxin effect to it, making it effective in battles against multiple enemies. Since the spine projectile organ feature disappeared, the left lower arm returned to its appearance as another combat arm, but I didn't mind. Each feature has its own strengths and weaknesses. In a situation where I need to subdue multiple enemies simultaneously, the Thorn Spine Launch Tail is a much better option. While running, I did not stop the tail and launched a volley of spine needles towards the knights. Team 1 here, Team 3 on alert. Report the situation. Team 3 here. No visible enemies, boom. Dozens of thorn spines, each the length of a hand, pierced the bodies of the knights. The enemies reacted with surprise to my attack. It's an enemy. Everyone prepare to counterattack. What? We can't move. The thorns are stuck in the joint parts? Due to the superior defense of their high-level reinforced armor, the spine needles could only penetrate their armor but not pierce through. However, they were stuck in the joint parts, restricting the movements of the enemies. These thorn spines are quite sturdy. Of course, considering the effectiveness of the advanced reinforced armor they were wearing, it was only a matter of time for time to pass, but that's enough. They haven't switched from heat detection in their field of view yet, right? Teams 1 and 2 entered the burning hospital, after changing the surveillance system in their helmets to a different format, but these 6 haven't done it yet. I opened my mouth wide. The internal incendiary mechanism activated, and soon an enormous amount of flames poured out through my throat. He's shooting fire? The magma gator's trait, the fire breath, erupted against the knights. Black smoke rose from the flames spreading in front of the station, penetrating even inside the station. Everyone, switch your sight. Despite the blockade of movement and vision, the enemies calmly responded. Of course, I'm not going to wait for them to get ready. I charged at the journalist who was in charge of communications. The journalist who took the brunt of my charge couldn't even scream as his whole body was crushed. Team 1 here. Team 3 respond. What's going on? This is Rex. Ferris is down. With little time left, I picked up the dismembered body of the fallen knight and immediately placed it in my mouth. Meanwhile, another knight who had switched the surveillance system aimed a plasma bolter at me. His intention to shoot me with a plasma bullet did not succeed. There's a single reason why I shot fire: to block the enemy's line of sight. Here, the term enemy doesn't just refer to the knights in front of me. The enemies I mentioned also include the cameras installed in the station as well. Big baby, we're here, my underground friends. They were hiding in the smoke, ready to assist me. Ugh! The knight affected by number 26 restraint floated in the air. Like a child grabbing a bug and tearing off its limbs, his arms and legs attached to his body danced independently. Rex! Following the sound of bones detaching, his arms and legs fell off with the sound of a firecracker. The knight, now resembling an octopus, fell into a puddle of blood, twitching for a moment before becoming still. "This is Team 3. We're under attack, requesting sup, ac. What the hell is happening? This is Team 2. We'll provide support right away, damn it." "Tennessee, stay in your position." The confused voices of the enemies through the communication device, the journalists thrown into panic after losing a colleague in an instant. It was a familiar scene. "Retreat! Retreat, erg!" One knight trying to flee was shot in the throat. It was Ainz who accurately aimed at the enemy's weakness. Organism, throat, weakness. Through the smoke, Ainz transmitted a low-frequency wave. If the knight had activated the psychic shield embedded in his advanced reinforced armor, he would have survived. It was his mistake to expose his back during the battle. After that, it was a swift process to clean up the station completely. Within a few minutes of starting the fight, the journalists, having lost half of their comrades, were not in their right minds. The Night Order, which has always brought victory to their masters, perished. There were only herds trembling with fear. As for what a herd without a leader could do in front of a wolf, there was only one thing: just cry pitifully, like there was no wolf to save a herd crying. Having dealt with the remaining 3 knights, I quickly picked up 2 corpses and rushed into the station. After dealing with the 3 remaining knights, I quickly picked up 2 bodies. Hurry, hurry! I cut the bodies and poured them into my mouth while swiftly entering the station. ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ. Get everything you can eat and go back to the nest. Can't we eat here? ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ. No time. Grab as much as you can and follow me. I hungry. Got it. I'll take care of what's left. Knowing that I was in a hurry, number 26 quietly reached out its tentacles and picked up 2 bodies. Ainz also tried to pick up one, but it was too heavy, so it gave up. That's how we carried 4 bodies with us and returned back to the nest. Just before the effects of the symbol of the hunt wore off, I could hear it. One of the late-arriving enemy knights screaming in frustration. In the smoke and darkness which engulfed the surroundings, I smiled. Chapter 66. What is this? Please explain. Is this unseen, demonic-like entity really a living being? I don't know. Layla demanded an explanation, but Denver had nothing to say. The person who wanted to know the most about the monster in this situation was not Layla, but Denver himself. According to what I saw on camera, the monster had 3 or more types and had exceptional traits, and all very naturally integrated. A perfect superior to the Hulk mutant. Denver is the overall responsible person for the development project of the new Hulk mutant. It's not an exaggeration to say that his knowledge in this field rivaled that of the Eugen family. Invisibility, flame breath, thorn throwing, and a tough outer shell. No creature that has all these traits all together has been discovered yet. There are many creatures with various traits and abilities. However, the traits shown by the monster are types that are very difficult to combine artificially. In simpler words, no organism of any species can have all these traits at the same time. If there is a being that can put these various abilities into one organism without side effects, it would be fitting to call it a god. Interesting. Whether it's a natural phenomenon or something someone created is not important. If they succeed in capturing the monster alive, the Eden family will undoubtedly surpass the Eugen family and become the masters of genetic engineering. If that happens, the family's dream of promotion to the noble capital would not just be a dream. While Denver was savoring the thought, the knight's cameras continued to move. Jacob here. Vice Commander, is there nothing visible on the cameras of Team 3? Vice Commander, nothing is visible due to the smoke. This is Team 2, Tennessee. We will enter the station. That's impossible. They might ambush us. Vice Commander Vickers, we need to first prepare and then search the subway. Your orders, sir? At Vickers' words, Denver nodded. It's a monster that killed 6 elite knights in an instant. Fighting it without preparation in a confined battlefield underground is suicide. Let's withdraw and regroup first and then decide our course of action. Jacob, come back. Terrace, ending communication. General Manager Layla, I'm sorry. It seems to be a little difficult to capture him with the knights that we currently have. I will close all the stations in the city. Secretary, contact the Defense Fleet. Layla didn't react to Denver's apology. It was not a matter that can just be resolved with a verbal apology. This was a matter for the representatives of the families to discuss. Denver may be the head of his family, but she was not. As the administrator of a city, she cannot handle this matter arbitrarily. Denver also knew this fact, so he did not point out that she did not accept the apology. He continued with what he was saying. The honor of the Eden Knights has been tarnished. Can we give them a chance to cleanse it and take their revenge? This is my personal request. Please give the Knights a chance and let them go to this mission with the City Defense Force. If you provide assistance, I will not refuse. Thank you. With Layla's approval, Denver nodded lightly, wearing an expression that indicated he had survived. She didn't say anything, but she seemed pleased with the fact that she had repaid a debt to Eden's head. She might not know, but Denver also gained something. Fortunately, that worked out. Now I can capture that creature alive. He couldn't order to capture the creature while Layla was watching. If he showed an obsession with the monster, Layla would have undoubtedly tried to negotiate with him and would have created obstructions for him. But now it was different. He can capture the monster separately while pretending to assist the City Defense Force in the subjugation of that creature. Of course, the soldiers from the accompanying City Defense Fleet might try to prevent the actions of the Knights, but there was no need to worry about that. In a war, accidents happen frequently. With his head bowed, Denver silently chuckled. Asterisk, 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 wow, if it weren't for the Earth Stamina trait, I would have collapsed. After the effects of the symbol of hunt wore off, I almost dozed off right there. It was better than the monster's tentacles shutting down my mind against my will, but I was still hit by tremendous lethargy and hunger. Thanks to the newly acquired Earth Stamina trait, I could endure the lethargy, but the problem was the lingering emptiness from the aftermath of using the symbol of hunt. I had concerns about the aftermath of using it, but experiencing it was far beyond my expectations. My sense of self faded, and only hunger dominated my mind. If there were no corpses, I might have eaten them. Fortunately, thanks to number 26 quick response, I didn't end up attacking them. The creature knew something was off with me and handed the corpses to me. Only after swallowing an entire corpse on the spot could I finally regain my senses. Are you feeling better now? Z. A bit better. Want another one? I shook my hand at number 26, indicating that I was okay. As it was about to clear the corpses, a small light caught my eye. What's this? We were currently standing on the tracks before the passage to the nest. Despite the dim space, the small light felt much clearer. Z. Can I have a moment? Sure. I received a corpse from 26 and examined it. Seeing a faint red light coming from inside the helmet, I realized the powered armor systems were still active. No way. I quickly tore out the battery attached to the back of the powered armor. The light in the helmet flickered and soon disappeared. Confirming that the powered armor had completely stopped, I tore off the head of the corpse and threw it to it high and looked inside the helmet. A small chip connected to the inside of the semi-transparent visor. I knew what that was. Scouting chip. It looked exactly like the part used when customizing mercenary-powered armor in the game. I spent more time playing Megacorp than encountering rankers. That's why, at some point, I became well acquainted with the weapons and equipment they used, almost on par with Megacorp rankers. People who send mercenaries for reconnaissance mainly use scouting devices. In classic strategy games, sending workers into enemy territory for reconnaissance was a basic strategy. Among Megacorp players, there were cases where mercenaries were sent with scouting chips implanted in their bodies to gauge the enemy's strategy or level of armament. It's a bit different from those cases. The problem is that the enemy might find out the location of my nest. I clenched the hand holding the helmet with force. My nest is as good as caught. Before entering the secret passage, I had a hunch, but I was still quite late. The enemy is not to be underestimated. Even if they don't know exactly where the nest is, they will thoroughly search the city's subway tracks to find it. Even if I abandon the nest, it's difficult to leave for another planet during this period when the council meeting is about to take place. Even if I manage to safely board a ship, it's all over if the enemy mobilizes a fleet to pursue me. No matter how tough and powerful my body has become, I can't survive a concentrated bombardment from a fleet. Since I haven't acquired that trait yet, directly fighting against a fleet is impossible. Let's think this through step by step. There's no need to think negatively for no reason. What are the pros and cons if I fight in the nest? After telling the kids to wait for a moment, I calculated the advantages and disadvantages I had. First, the advantages. There's a high chance the enemy doesn't know the structure of the secret passage. According to the setting, the place where I made the nest is an impromptu passage created by city construction workers for rest and movement. There shouldn't be any maps or records of it left. Even if the workers who participated in the construction are still alive, this city has been around for hundreds of years according to the setting. Unless they underwent genetic modification, there's no chance they're still alive. And being underground means I don't have to worry about the fleet bombardment. Unless the enemy orders a bombardment on their own homes, there won't be a need to fight against warships. Plasma weapons can be a problem, though. Plasma weapons are a concern. Now that the effects of the symbol of hunt has been lifted, any weapon stronger than a plasma bolter which if carried by a knight will a threat to me. Moreover, the city's soldiers are likely to have plasma launchers as well. Both weapons could be fatal to me. Although it's likely they'll not shoot in the underground, however, this part is uncertain. If they plan to bury me completely from their end, they might order a launcher barrage. This aspect should be considered a disadvantage. Besides, the narrow and straight terrain is also a disadvantage for me. The secret passage has a complex maze-like structure, but the passage itself is narrow and straight. There are no structures for cover, so if they unleash a blaze from their end, I won't be able to avoid it. Even if I plan a strategy focusing on surprise attacks, but if dozens or hundreds of soldiers are mobilized from their end, I won't be able to do this either. I don't know about the city's defense force, but the Eden Knights are veterans. It is unlikely that they would succumb easily to consecutive attacks. A disruption operation using darkness would also be difficult. The nest is so dark that not even a speck of light comes in, but they would definitely have prepared for low visibility. Let's change our thinking. It's underground, and it's a place I know well. Moreover, it's easy to defend with minimal exposure to enemy attacks. There's only one place that fits these conditions as far as I know. Sewers. When playing as a morph in the city, I always roamed through the sewers. When I first came to this city after the game became reality, I debated whether to go through the sewers or take the subway. At that time, I chose the secret passage over the sewers due to concerns about the high security of the sewers. Back then, I was weak. I was a metamorph with only one type, and I hadn't obtained the trump card of the Transcendence system. So, instead of the sewers, I chose the secret passage, and as a result, I could hide and gather strength away from the enemy's eyes. But not anymore. Among the traits I acquired at the hospital, there's a weapon suitable for times like this. Cosmic bacteria. When this trait is applied, a bacterium called cosmic bacteria is automatically produced in the body. Cosmic bacteria is a chronic cold virus-like entity that emerged as humans ventured into space. No matter how much you want to get rid of it, new variants of it keep appearing, and it's not terribly lethal either. Cosmic bacteria only has the effect of weakening the immune system. But what if the enemies get infected with cosmic bacteria in a place full of pollutants and viruses, like a sewer filled with contaminated water? In other words, the pursuing enemies would have to fight against the dual enemies, me and the cosmic bacteria inside my body. The real formidable enemy is the internal enemy. While bullets can be blocked with armor, attacks that damage from the inside are difficult to defend against. Even though the lower-grade reinforced suits have built-in treatments, they can't completely block viruses or diseases in contaminated water. The higher-grade reinforced suits are no exception. Even if they have antidotes ready, It's just a matter of delaying the inevitable. In the end, they will all suffer and die in the filth of the sewer. One advantage in defense is that the sewer is an essential infrastructure. A malfunction in water-related infrastructure in an artificial structure floating in the middle of space is a very serious issue. Water is an essential element for the survival of living organisms. So, they will likely refrain from using plasma weapons as much as possible. The final advantage is that the sewer is partially filled with water. The detection systems of the enemies I've encountered so far rely on heat and vibration detection. Both are not suitable for dealing with enemies hiding in water. Even if I ambush them while hiding myself, they won't be able to respond as easily as they would on the ground. However, they probably have a map of the sewer, so I need to be cautious about that. Considering everything, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. The sewer isn't a bad place to turn into a new hideout and battlefield. I decided to move to the sewer and called the kids. ZZZZZZZZZ, hey guys, over here. Isn't that your home? ZZZZZZZZZ, we're not going home. We're going to another home, new home. ZZZZZZZZZ, yeah, a new home. To get to the sewer, I have to go outside first. If I go through the station backwards, the enemies might spot me, but it doesn't matter. They already know I'm moving underground because of the signal device that was attached to the reinforced suit of the knight I killed. I took number 26 and had high with me, crossed the tracks, and went to another station. On the way, I shot thorns to destroy all the cameras, knowing that I'm moving underground and knowing my identity are different things. The metal absorption that was extended by the effects of the symbol of hunt has now ended. Now that the camouflage is lifted, I need to be cautious about cameras. I quickly broke the cameras, took the kids, and ran to the station gate. It was closed, probably because it was late at night. Before the security and androids arrived, I broke the gate and hurriedly went outside. A square manhole connects to the sewer. As I emerged onto the street, I examined the manhole shapes on the road. Most of them were round, but there was one that was square. ZZZZZZZZZZZZ, this way. Yeah, hungry. ZZZZZZZZZ, eat while we go. Can I eat too? ZZZ, yeah, since the effect of the symbol of hunt has ended, there's no urgent need for food right now. With my permission, number 26 detached the arm from the corpse using its tentacles and handed it to Adhai, who melted the it and started eating. While the kids were having snacks, I lifted the square manhole cover and checked below. There doesn't seem to be any alarm devices near the entrance. Within a radius of 50 meters in the underground sewer, there are no alarm devices. Confident in the safety, I crawled into the underground with the kids. Wow, it's water. After letting the kids in first, I put the manhole cover back in its place on the ground and jumped into the water. It's filthy. Even though amorphs don't have a nose, they have highly sensitive auxiliary organs. I could sense the composition of this murky water and the floating slime-like substance in it. Still, perhaps due to amorph's extraordinary tolerance, it was bearable. Big baby, this place seems nice. Water, not bad. Contrary to me, number 26 and Adhai seemed to like this contaminated water. It was understandable for number 26, given its strong sense of home, but Adhai was a surprise. He was naturally swimming using his wings and tail. I had planned to hide Adhai separately if enemies invaded this place, but seeing how well he adapted, it seemed unnecessary. Lastly, I double-checked for alarm devices or surveillance androids in the vicinity. I don't know about other places, but there are none here. Finally, feeling that I had arrived in a safe place, the tension in my body released. It was a short time, but the fatigue from battling strong enemies continuously and the weariness from the aftermath of Symbol of Hunt and the lethargy all hit me. This was the first I felt tired since I became an amorph. Let's apply the traits obtained from the predation effect and rest. There is one of the traits remaining from the Knights of Eden that I devoured at the station after accepting the application of the trait. I accepted the application of the trait, laid down on the water, and spoke. ZZZZZZZZZ. I'll take a rest, sure. Get some sleep. If anything happens, I'll wake you up. Z, thanks. Leaving our new nest to number 26, I peacefully fell asleep in the contaminated water. Chapter 67. I woke up feeling the undulating waves around my body. How long did I sleep for? When I saw the faint light coming through the manhole, it seemed like daytime. Focusing on my auxiliary organ, I heard the sounds of people walking above ground. At least a morph doesn't have a nose, luckily. In fact, among all the creatures present here, there was no one who had a nose. Galagans had tentacles instead of nose and mouth, and number 26 had no face to begin with. I, too, had an auxiliary organ below my chin instead of a sensory organ like the nose. The olfactory information processed by the auxiliary organ felt like individually analyzing the components of odors. For example, the ratio of ammonia and nitrate in the flowing sewer water. Let's stop thinking about these things. I got up, shaking off the unnecessary thoughts. I could see number 26 and Adhai sleeping nearby. Adhai had its head resting on number 26, emitting a faint light while sleeping. Since Galagans live in water, to me it seemed like ordinary sewer water, but for it, it must feel like home. Without waking them up, I walked through the passage. The diameter of the sewer is probably around 6 meters. Seeing that there is plenty of space above my head even when I stand up, it should be about that size. Even if I use the symbol of hunt, it seems like my head won't touch it narrowly. I was so tired that I couldn't check it properly and just let it go. I activated the text box. I was so tired yesterday that I couldn't check the traits properly, so I activated the text box. Species. Unidentified aggressive space morph status. Pre-saint, first stage of transcendence objective. Survive second evolution successful, possess traits 1, physical related, applied type. Wings, chitinous exoskeleton, regeneration, fusion, neurotoxin glands, fusion, reinforced exoskeleton. Acidic blood, enhanced reflexes, mimicry, serrated tentacles, contamination organ, spine projectile organ, predator's claw. Metal absorption, perfect organism, unique. Fire breath, endurance, pheromone enhancement, blood-sucking tentacle fusion. 2. Psychic-related, applied type, predator sense fusion. Human nature, monsters, tentacles, and clairvoyance, psychic resistance, insight. 3. Infection-related, parasitic colony fusion, cosmic bacteria. Type, physical enhancement type, psychic enhancement type, unread new messages have arrived. Would you like to read them? While checking the text box, I noticed a new trait, blood-sucking tentacle. Was the trait I acquired a blood-sucking feature? In a semi-conscious state, I had only confirmed that it wasn't a trait with negative effects, but it turned out to be a not-so-bad result. Blood-sucking traits aren't rare in games. As in reality, there are many creatures that suck the bodily fluids of other animals. The effectiveness of the blood-sucking trait increases with size. For example, Galagans had this trait naturally, so despite Adhai being about 50 cm in size, he could suck all the blood from an adult man in less than 10 minutes. The small suction cups on tentacles helped sucking blood at a very fast speed. Larger creatures with more significant and bigger suction organs could likely suck blood at an even faster rate. I pulled out the blood-sucking tentacle from my arm. The tentacle, which previously had neatly arranged saw blades across its surface, now had suction pads like that in an octopus's leg. Looking at the suction pads, which had sharp tooth-like structures protruding inside, resembling jaws of a lamprey. PR/N lamprey are parasitic eel-like fishes that suck blood of other organisms since there's a suction pad. I can use it when sticking to walls. When playing the game, I often used the blood-sucking tentacle for purposes other than blood-sucking. I mainly used it to suck all the blood from corpses to erase traces, or to move around buildings using the suction pad in the tentacle. Anyway, the blood-sucking tentacle is a highly versatile trait that has many uses, so that's good. And, unexpectedly, there's a new message again. I checked the message. Transcendence material list. Mimic organ, pheromone enhancement, clairvoyance, hallucination, not acquired. The newly arrived message contained information about new transcendence traits. It seems like a new unique trait will be created if I combine these 4 traits. Just like the complete organism, which is a unique trait created by merging 3 physical-related traits through the transcendence system. This time, it appears to be a trait created by combining 2 physical-related traits and 2 psychic-related traits. Hallucination can't be obtained here. The hallucination trait can only be obtained from the genetic essence of the red mist. Since red mist creatures inhabit only the ancient ruins and the jungle planets, finding them here would be impossible. Even if it were available, I can't make it right away. Until I acquire 2 psychic-related traits, I can't combine hallucination with transcendence. Otherwise, the psychic type might be lost. Let's keep this information aside for now. Should I explore the surroundings a bit? I need to check if there's a safer place than where we currently are, and whether there are any dangers nearby. While navigating through the current, I sensed something through my auxiliary organ. Something was moving in the murky water. I swung the blood-sucking tentacle, grabbed the object, and pulled it out. A creature with a slender, white body dangled from my tentacle. Corpse eater. Corpse eaters are cleaners that consume various waste flowing into the sewer. Mega Corpse Sewer doesn't just receive sewage. From facilities fulfilling the citizens' obscene desires, remnants of hired ones or waste from factories are secretly dumped into the sewers. Since this waste has a large volume, it can't be processed by the sewage treatment plant. Therefore, many use these grotesque creatures to reduce their size. It's the one that occasionally appears as a horror post on the community. It looks disgustingly creepy to ordinary people. Of course, that doesn't mean I'd discard this perfectly good genetic essence I ate the corpse eater after tearing through it. Honestly, the taste was mediocre. The texture was chewy, and the leaked juices had a strange sweet and sour taste. Well, if a creature living in the sewer and eating corpses tastes good, it would be more strange. I should focus on the nutritional supply. Thinking that I'd have to eat this kind of thing for a while, it was a bit unpleasant, but it is better than nothing. Besides, I might acquire a new genetic essence by eating it again. Corpse eaters have infection-related traits, so I should aim for that. I put the corpse eater in my mouth and moved on. Asterisk, 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 nothing found in the subway. Well, yes, sir, I report. Deputy Chief, is what he said true? According to the members, they only found secret passages presumed to have been used by the monster. That's. 2 days had passed since the tragedy at the hospital, and with only a day left until the council meeting, there had been no progress at all in the subjugation of the monster. Layla, who had just received a report from the head of the security department, stood up to greet a new guest. Thanks to this, the head of security department could avoid the embarrassment of being dragged out by the security guards during the briefing. Despite significant issues like smuggling, missing criminals, and police deaths occurring in the past few days, the head of security department didn't report anything. She thought Layla wouldn't let it slide if she found out about these incidents before the council meeting. If Denver hadn't brought back relevant information, these incidents would have been buried forever in the security department's cabinet. Layla, the city's administrator, was extremely angry at the fact that she learned of flaws from an outsider, not an insider. She declared that when she returns, she would replace all the bureaucrats affiliated with the security department and left the meeting room. Denver, who had just entered the meeting room, looked at the head of security department, who was wiping the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. Head of the security department. Yes. If you want to keep your position, perhaps focusing a bit more on work would be advisable. Although your master is a compassionate person, she is not someone who will tolerate this kind of behavior. Why, yes. If you want to volunteer in the entertainment district, I won't stop you. And no, thank you. Having warned the head of security, Denver stroked his chin. The monster is intelligent, so it knew we were trying to search for it. It's not just an ordinary beast if it's using secret passages to avoid people. One shouldn't think of it as a typical animal. Well, let's think about it. If the creature is a beast with a human head, how do you think it would behave? Are you talking about Hulk mutants? No, those guys are stupid. It's smarter than that. Crisis Management Team Leader, any ideas that come to mind? Denver asked the Crisis Management Team Leader, a stern-looking, yellow-skinned man participating in the meeting. After a brief contemplation, he responded to Denver's question. Even if it escaped from the station, it couldn't have gone far. Based on the information submitted by the Silver Lion Knights, it's not likely to have a small stature. Exactly. So why not compare the map with its movements and see if there are any hiding spots around the station? Not a bad idea. Let's check the map then. Security Chief, please. Yes, sir. The head of Security Department hastily operated the terminal pad, projecting the city's map image onto the wall of the meeting room. Denver scrutinized the map, then tilted his head curiously. Look at this. Yes. What are those lines next to the railway? Oh, those are markings indicating sewer passages. You don't need to pay much attention to them. Sewer, Denver called the Crisis Management Team Leader again. I heard you personally went out with your subordinates to map the area. Was there a sewer close to the station? It's difficult for me to see since the sewer facilities are underground. Ah, why is that? Come to think of it, some manhole covers near certain stations had a different appearance. Manhole? That I can answer. Speak. The manholes connected to the sewer have a square shape. What the Crisis Management Team Leader saw might not be a manhole connected to the sewer. The Security Chief's words are correct. Denver's eyes sparkled at the words of the two leaders. Deputy Chief asked the members. Were there square manholes around the station where the fire occurred? Understood, sir. Do you think it's possible that the creature went into the sewer? If it's close to the station, there's a possibility. But the sewer structure is much more complex than the subway tracks. There's a high chance of another incident occurring before we find the creature. I also think so. The Crisis Management Team Leader calmly stated his opinion, while the head of Security Department added in a hurried manner. What should we do? Denver had little concern for the citizens of this city, whether they lived or died. Even if hundreds or thousands of citizens died, capturing that monster alive would be beneficial to him. However, stating that outright would tarnish the positive image he had built up until now. How about trying it like this? What do you mean? Instead of personally searching, why not use a method to lure the creature out? Are you talking about a bait operation, but how do you plan to lure it out? It's almost certain that the creature preys on humans. So if we provide prey from this side, wouldn't that work? Are you suggesting we use resources from the entertainment district? That's right. After preparing traps in the sewer, we lure and eliminate it. It was clear that the creature was an intelligent being. However, it was not human. Being intelligent and having detailed information about the city were separate matters. Unless the creature residing in this city was human, it would not find it strange for prey to enter the sewer. Initially, it might seem strange, but if prey continued to enter, the creature would likely dismiss any suspicions. The Crisis Management Team Leader seemed to find Denver's suggestion a viable strategy and nodded in agreement. We need to consult with the Human Resources Manager, but I think we can easily gather around 200 people. It would be better if we could get more. I'll take care of that. Good. Keep up the momentum, Security Chief. Although the plan involved sacrificing 200 innocent lives as food for the carnivorous monster, no one in the room found it strange. Those employed by Megacorp were not human. They were classified as administrative resources. They could be slaughtered or euthanized as common resources when needed. If capturing the monster meant business for Denver and eliminating a potential threat to the city's security for the two leaders, then everyone in the room would benefit. Very well. If the Deputy Chief's confirmation is complete, we'll proceed with the operation immediately. Understood. Security Chief, if this operation is successful, I'll request clemency for you from the Administrator. Really? I'll do my best. Your Majesty, while it may not be a proper military operation, it would be good to have a code name. If you could decide. Can I decide? No one among the soldiers disrespects Your Majesty. If you decide, it would be an honor for us. Denver pondered for a moment. Then he recalled what Layla had said to him before. What is that unseen, ghost-like entity? Recalling that memory, Denver spoke. How about this, Operation Ghost Hunt? Operation Ghost Hunt. Excellent. We will exterminate that invisible ghost. Hora. Very enthusiastic. Ha ha ha. Everything was going according to his plan. Denver burst into genuine laughter, brimming with joy. The creature is mine. The long-standing wish of the family was nearing fulfillment. While laughing, Denver secretly clenched his fist. He would not let go of the captured monster under any circumstances. Chapter 68. ZZZZZZZZ. Hey, wake up and eat. Wow, food. Looking around, I woke the kids up. 6 dead catfish were what I brought back, using arms for combat and even the small arms on my chest, gathering them all up. ZZZZZZZZZ. After eating, we'll move to another place, building a home. ZZZ. Yeah. As always, number 26 understood quickly. It used its tentacles to grab the catfish and stuffed them into his body. Because of his translucent body, it was clear how the catfish dissolved inside him. Tasty? Just like number 26, who never had picky eating habits, he quickly finished off one of the catfish. On the other hand, Aidhai, after sucking the blood of the dead catfish with his oral tentacles, wrinkled his brow. Food not tasty, a Galagan, contorting his expression like that, was something I hadn't seen before. Compared to amorphs who lacked any facial expressions other than the movement of their mouth, Galagans seemed to have a more rich range of emotions. Taste. Terrible. Seemingly, as it was really unpleasant, he shivered while furrowing his body. It's kind of like that. Among the foods I had eaten since becoming a morph, the worst tasting was definitely the calorie bars. That's until I had the dead catfish. I did provide it, but it was undeniably unpalatable. I didn't have much to say about Aidhai's complaints. However, number 26 didn't seem to share the same sentiment. It pulled out his tentacle and smacked Aidhai's head. Pain, you'll grow big if you eat a lot. If you want to be big like the big ones, you gotta eat everything. I growth desire, that's right. I growth bigger adult, no possible. Pain, let's leave those two alone since they seem to get along well. I waited until they finished eating the dead catfish before moving to the next location with the kids. In this sewer system, sewage treatment facilities were placed at intervals along the passages for purification. Here, through the dead catfish and small sewage treatment facilities, larger foreign substances were sieved out in the primary phase, followed by a secondary system in the deep underground city sewage treatment plant to purify the contaminated water. Upon closer inspection, there are no detectors except in places with small sewage treatment facilities. The detector seemed to send a signal only when there was an object nearby that was large enough for small sewage treatment facilities to handle. With my size, I will definitely trigger it. Among us, Aidhai, who has the smallest size, barely escapes the conditions of the detector. Even if I don't trigger it, it's too risky to build a nest around the detector. Since there are small sewage treatment facilities nearby, there is a very high chance that the city's managers will come regularly to inspect. Even if we're unlucky, people might come today. It's too risky to build a nest in such a place. I guess this should be enough. The point where I intended to build a new nest was relatively far from both the manhole and the sewage treatment facility, almost equidistant. This place had relatively shallow water and protruding parts on the walls, providing space to rest comfortably for number 26 and me. But since Aidhai wasn't an aquatic organism, it needed a space to rest comfortably. ZZZZZZZZ. Wait for me to build a nest, yeah. After informing the kids, I climbed the wall and moved up to the ceiling. The nests I had previously laid were all destroyed while I was asleep. As expected, the enemies quickly discovered the secret passage. They would undoubtedly search the secret passage and eliminate my nest along with it. So, I planned to create a new nest in this sewer system. Normally, I would let the mucus secreted from my body solidify and wait for it to become a nest. But not this time. I'll have to directly apply the secreted mucus to build the nest. Since I can't install the nest underwater, when it comes into contact with water, the mucus consistency doesn't solidify. But it doesn't matter once the structure and spores of the nest are completed. Water is still a good medium. The nest, through various stimuli from the surroundings, can perceive nearby objects, environments, and more. Starting now. I used my arms to apply the mucus substance being secreted from my body onto the ceiling. The highly viscous mucus flowed and solidified like stalactites. The mucus substances that flowed down along the rounded tunnel walls spread out like wooden stems and lightly touched the water surface. After an hour of starting to build the nest, the basic framework was complete. The newly formed nests on the walls and ceiling will expand on their own without me interfering. Great. As I confirmed the slow expansion of the nest, I pressed my body tightly against the ceiling. Firmly securing myself with hands and feet to avoid falling, I linked the auxiliary mechanism on my jaw to the nest. The nest grabbed my consciousness and pulled me in. Instead of a morph's small body, this gigantic artificial structure felt like my own body. Information about the fluids flowing through the city's veins and the impurities within seeped into my mind. In the pitch-black darkness, dead bodies and catfish feasting, their names unknown, existed under the vibrant and glamorous city, surrounded by an immeasurable dampness. Unexpectedly, amidst my exploration of the sewers, my senses picked up something unusual. A person. Suddenly, I sensed human presence in various parts of the sewer. Initially, I thought it might be corpses discreetly disposed of. However, seeing that they were not moving along with the current, but rather moving independently, it was evident that they were living individuals. People here? And so many at once. I need to investigate. I detached the link and leaped into the water. Where to? ZZZ. I have something to check. Got it. I'll wait. After informing number 26 that I would return soon, I headed toward the detected movement of people. While submerged in the water, I felt a change in the water's flow. With only the auxiliary mechanism protruding above the surface to detect the air, I heard voices coming from a distance. There's more than just one or two. The current location was a junction. Movement from 10 individuals on the left and 3 on the right was detected. From the unrefined movements and trembling in their voices, it was evident that they were all civilians. Why would civilians come here? Lowering myself underwater again, I moved towards the quieter right passage with fewer people. Apart from the sound of water, the sewer was silent. But the noise of the 3 people there echoed through. If we manage to survive and get out of here, it's a confirmed release, right? That's what I heard. It's better than dying in the entertainment zone. Damn, do you know what happened to the guys who came with me? They all became raw fish before they died. Damn, it gives me chills. Crazy bastards. Why did they send us here? What could possibly be here? I don't know what's here, but those who keep their promise. If we get out alive, we're all free. Ugh, that idiot must be having a good time. His head's a flower garden. 3 men were conversing among themselves as they approached this way. They were in a state of undress, without protective suits in this filthy place. The only equipment shielding them in this contaminated space was the oxygen masks covering their faces. Even at the entertainment district, I've never dealt with this much crap. Now it's crap water. Stop grumbling. Be careful, the depth is increasing. Damn, I have aquaphobia for F***'s sake. The passage I was in was relatively deep from a human perspective. Moments ago, when the sewage surged up to chest level from waist level, they cursed. For F***'s sake, couldn't they at least provide us with protective suits? Be careful not to wet the gun, that's all our credit. We might as well be frozen with debts. They raised their flashlights and laser guns high to prevent them from touching the water. They don't seem like administrators. Those with responsibilities for the foundational facilities of the space city belong to advanced management. They wouldn't be here with such shabby equipment. Moreover, something one of them said caught my attention. Confirmed release. In Megacorp, confirmed release has 2 meanings. One is the literal sense of release, the other refers to tasks assigned to those employed by Megacorp. Employees fall into 3 categories. Individuals with overwhelming debt, criminals who committed major crimes, or humans from farm planets nurturing employees as livestock. Employees are treated as resources rather than humans. Their employment lasts until Megacorp deems it profitable, and until then they're obligated to follow Megacorp's orders unquestioningly. In the community, they jokingly call them corporate slave, Chinese letter, which means livestock. Note, the term corporate slave, Chinese letter, is a Korean slang word that combines the Chinese characters, Chinese letter, society, and Chinese letter, livestock. It is used colloquially to refer to individuals who are perceived as working tirelessly for society or corporations, often at the expense of their personal well-being. In the game, mercenaries used by Megacorp players are also former employees. Most employees die before completing their service, either for reconnaissance or as meat shields, and their debts are transferred to family or relatives, according to the setting. Personally, I found it excessive, but among users who enjoy dystopian settings, it was well received. Anyway, those guys seem like employees. Employees are essentially subhuman, slaves even, and it's crucial not to leave their positions voluntarily. Their presence here implies someone deliberately ordered them here. Let's observe a bit more. Their armaments weren't significant, so there wasn't an immediate need to attack. I approached them slowly while submerged. My slow movements caused a slight disturbance in the waves. Whoa. What's up? Something just moved in the water. Oh, don't bullshit, it's just us here. No, seriously, something moved over there. Z, Team 15. What's going on? Why did you stop? Nothing at all. The other teams are still moving. Team 15 doesn't seem enthusiastic about fulfilling their obligations. No, we'll move right away. The leader, equipped with a small communication device on his chest, repeatedly bowed his head. After the transmission ended, he seemed furious and began hitting the person next to him violently. Due to the flashlight hitting his head, blood streamed from the side of his temple. You idiot! If you want to become raw meat while still alive, do it on your own. Don't drag us into this mess. Sorry. Stop fighting, you crazy idiots. Indeed, they were bait. Someone intentionally set up bait here. The Knights. Recently, they've been causing trouble here since their arrival, invited by the council, but I didn't expect them to find me this quickly. Their tracking of my movements is faster than I anticipated. If the Knights are here in the sewers, it means the city's higher-ups are sharing their plans. Yet they haven't sent heavily armed knights and soldiers this way. They're not concerned about casualties. There's definitely something fishy. Regardless, for now, killing these three here is on hold. Their plan is uncertain, and unless the enemy is foolish, they would have prepared a number against the bait. I remained motionless in my position. Three of them passed me, trembling with anxiety and fear. Look, you idiot, there's nothing here. Did I see wrong? Cough, I think I'm feeling unwell already. Let's finish this quickly and leave. I quietly followed behind them. One of them, with a sensitive disposition towards the back, shone a flashlight, but I wasn't caught, as nothing could be seen in the murky water. Continuing to follow them, we reached a junction where multiple paths intersected, and about 60 people in similar attire were waiting. Among them stood a knight in silver armor. Getting closer could risk getting caught. I didn't enter the open area but stayed behind the wall, leaving only the auxiliary organ exposed. Everyone seems to have arrived. The knight was unaware of my presence and was communicating. This is Team 3, Tennessee. No more than 60 members present. Chiswick, this is Team 1, Vicus. No more than 80 members present. Hey, Chiswick, this is Team 2, Jacob. 5 members haven't arrived yet, Chiswick, awaiting orders. Team 3, Tennessee, Sir Jacob's signal is weak. Requesting a check. Chiswick, got it, Chiswick, understood. Listening their conversation, I scanned the surroundings with the auxiliary organ. Many footsteps above me suggested that those present were all soldiers. There's a nearby manhole, so they're using this as a base. According to the overheard information, the enemy has 3 bases. When I linked to the nest, I couldn't sense the other 2. Their positions seemed quite distant from each other, a wide search point narrowing down to specific areas. The enemy is trying to surround and lure me into a specific area. When I take the bait, the knights and soldiers will continue to reinforce their encirclement, just like fox hunting. The difference is that instead of hounds, they've set multiple baits. They'll keep reinforcing their encirclement until one moment, and that's when they'll initiate the operation to eliminate me. Team 3, Tennessee, awaiting orders. Chiswick, Team 2, Jacob, everyone is assembled. Team 1, Vicus, understood, initiating Operation Ghost Hunt. Release all the baits. Did you all hear? Move quickly. Yes, sir. Even though they were blatantly treated as bait, there was no sign of resistance among the people here. It's obvious since there's a bomb in their heads. Well, technically, it's an ultra-small chip emitting electromagnetic waves, but the effect is no different from a bomb. Disobedience results in the brain being fried. The baits, with melancholic expressions, began to return along the same route. The three who guided me here also turned to walk back through the passage they came from, but Tennessee called them back. Hey. Yes. Why is there blood on your head? Did you get attacked? Oh no, this guy just tripped. Tusk, how pathetic. Tennessee clicked his tongue and gestured, and the three bowed their heads and moved on again. When the bait stopped in place, a communication directly came in from the headquarters. I saw it when I followed the three earlier, it's certain. There's a high probability that some sort of chip is embedded in their bodies to transmit signals with movement. Perhaps the command the bait received is to move continuously along a predetermined route. If someone dies or becomes immobile, that's when they dispatch knights and soldiers. However, the recent scene was intriguing. From the base's perspective, they don't know about the bait's minor injuries. This is getting interesting. Unstable communication in the sewage, limited information exchange, a dark and obstacle-filled battlefield. All of these suit my tastes perfectly. They're hunting me. It's an amusing proposition. Since I love hunting, we'll see who becomes the fox after this hunt is over. Chapter 69. Megacorp is known to possess over hundreds of colony planets. Legally, these colonies are classified as production entities, serving as a means for Megacorp to generate the resources it needs. According to Megacorp's laws, the rights to all types of resources on these colonies belong to the planetary lord. To put it more straightforwardly, think of these colonies as something akin to livestock pens or pigsties on a cosmic scale. Naturally, ordinary humans wouldn't enjoy being treated as slaves or livestock. Even if the dominating force possesses a powerful influence on a galactic scale, resistance is inevitable. Therefore, the higher-ups at Megacorp employ various methods to ensure smooth governance of the colonies. For example, redemption activities. It's a concept first devised by T&C, giving hope to employees that they can escape from the status of mere laborers if they fulfill assigned tasks. T&C goes further by granting capital status to employees who successfully complete redemption. As more individuals who successfully complete redemption and return as capitals increased, the resistance on colony planets noticeably decreased. Instead of choosing the path of resistance against T&C's domination, many opted to become Megacorp's capitals. Brody, brought to this special trade center of T&C, found himself in a similar situation. An opportunity presented itself to him, who was merely waiting for his demise in the entertainment district. The head of the Personnel Resources Management team announced the recruitment of sewage exploration personnel in exchange for completing redemption. Upon hearing those words, Brody pondered his options. Rather than having my skin peeled off while alive, rolling in the sewage seems like a better option. With this judgment, 210 resource workers gathered. Divided into 3 groups of 80, 70, and 60 entering the sewer, Brody initially thought his decision wasn't bad. Rolling in the sewage was nothing compared to what he experienced in the entertainment district. However, his optimistic thoughts vanished the moment they entered the sewer. Phew! The sewer was worse than he had imagined. Even with a mask, the stench penetrating inside, floating foreign substances on the water, and the discomfort of something passing between his legs were overwhelming. Each of those things was something he didn't want to see even in his dreams, but there was something particularly irritating Brody's nerves. I feel that gaze again. He had always heard about his keen intuition. Like the dark water enveloping the city in cosmic dimensions, something lurked within it. The conditions are too good. Hey, why are you all silent like you've hit the jackpot? Don't ruin the atmosphere, say something. If you're so unsatisfied, why don't you speak first? This punk. It was unclear how much longer they would endure in this suffocating sewer. Perhaps that's why everyone seemed more irritable. Cough. It wasn't just their nerves that became sharp. Brody felt a rising heat in his body even in the cold water. The hand holding the flashlight barely clung to the surface, and his legs felt as heavy as if they were shackled. Is the darkness engulfing him? It felt like his vision was spinning. Hey, does this guy taste weird? What do you mean? Think about it. Maybe you cracked his head open and that's why he's like this. If we mess up, we're screwed too. Hey, wait. The man at the front turned on the communication device. Ah, hello, Sir Knight, I have something to report. Chiswick, what is it? Did you find something? You know, one of our comrades who fell earlier is struggling a bit, so I was wondering if we could move a bit slower to perform the mission more effectively. If that's the case, it shouldn't be a big problem. Understood. Thank you. The man kept nodding until the communication was cut off. As soon as the sound of the connection being terminated was heard, his expression changed. This damn bastard, so damn difficult, like an orphan without a mother. You did well. Thanks, Tusk. Hey, I'll stand behind this time, so move forward. Ah, understood. After exchanging positions, they resumed their journey. They slowed down a bit after reporting to the Knight. Although it didn't alleviate his physical condition, Brody managed to hold onto his consciousness. Once they leave this place, he'll be a free man. With thoughts only on freedom, he walked determinedly. Ahead, they saw a small sewage treatment facility. It was a dead end. From here, they would have to move to another designated location. The man at the front grumbled as if he was tired. Ugh, I don't know how many more times we have to go through this bullshit. Well, that's true. Hey, the guy at the back, follow well, huh? Why are you saying that? Where did the one behind you go? What? Brody turned his head sharply at the man's words. There was no one behind him. Hey, are you kidding? Where did he go? Well, I don't know either. The man's face turned pale. Was it because of the cold water, or was it fear in this situation? The clear fact was that Brody was no different from the man. Damn, those guys above, don't they know that someone is missing? The man hurriedly searched for the communication device. Despite the trembling wind causing him to almost drop it several times, he finally succeeded in activating the communication device. What's going on? Knight. Chijik, what's going on? Sir, one person from our team is missing. Someone is missing. Yes, the friend who was following behind. What are you talking about? The signals show that all three are moving fine. What? The man holding the communication device gaze was fixed behind Brody. Brody swallowed his saliva and turned his head. Black water swirled like waves, and a man's head emerged. The man who had been following didn't disappear. However, Brody's heart didn't calm down. Instead, it started beating even more vigorously. The reason for the big wave was not the man, but something behind him. That thing. It looked enormous enough to fill the sewer passage, gripping the man with its dark, seemingly giant form. The man holding the communication device opened his mouth wide. Just before air escaped his throat, a long, slender serpent emerged from the water and pierced his neck. The man remained motionless in the posture of trying to scream. That thing silently passed by Brody towards the man. It raised an arm with long claws, pulling the communication device from the man's hand. Unit 15, report immediately if there is a problem. The Knight's voice came through the communication device, but Brody couldn't make a sound. That thing was staring down at him. With a pitch-black, non-reflective exterior like water and teeth shining pale in contrast, the monstrous creature seemed ready to tear his throat apart. It reached out to him. Ugh! Brody shut his eyes tightly, expecting imminent pain. Several seconds passed, but nothing happened. When Brody cautiously opened his eyes, that thing was offering him the communication device. In a sudden move, Brody accepted the communication device from the monster's outstretched hand. Then, that thing brought its elongated claws, filled with menacing teeth, to his mouth. It. In this situation, Brody had limited actions he could take. Asterisk, 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 the man in front of me reported on the communication device with a trembling voice. It's Brody from Unit 15. The person who was originally in charge of the communication device fell, so I took over. Tusk, what a nuisance. Get moving as soon as he gets up. Oh, okay. The man, now addressed as Brody, faithfully followed my command. Let's get started. I activated the parasitic organism. A parasite emerged from my arm, swimming in the murky water. Stop. Brody exclaimed in fear, staggering, but he couldn't escape. My tail was behind him, poking his back. Cuck, keck, keek. As the parasite entered his nostrils, he coughed, trembling violently. His eyes rolled back, and his tongue extended uncontrollably from his mouth, the parasites establishing their presence in his brain. The man who stood at the front had to watch helplessly as his comrade succumbed. He seemed rebellious. Unlike those infected by the parasites, this person had a rather coarse demeanor. Those who showed excessive resistance were challenging to control, as seen in the case of William last time. I need to check for the chip inside the body. To do that, I had to carefully examine one of the employees. It worked out well. Let's start by checking this person. I approached the man I had paralyzed earlier, holding him by one arm. I examined his body with the auxiliary organ. There should be a signal chip somewhere. Although there was a faint electrical signal flowing in the brain, I would remove it later. Since it was a device for managing employees, I had to take care not to break it and retrieve it. While examining the man's body, I sensed a signal near his wrist. I seized the man's arm with my combat arm and tore it off, causing him to cry out. Hiuck! Brody, who was watching nearby, was horrified. The man looked blankly as his arm fell off. Since his entire body was paralyzed, he wouldn't feel any pain. Perhaps he thought he was having a terrible nightmare. Upon splitting the arm open, a small chip emitted light. I carefully removed the chip with my small arm from his chest. All right. As soon as the chip was in my hand, the communication device rang. Receiving. B. Brody here. What's going on? Why aren't you moving? And nothing. We will move immediately. Tusk, I can't believe I have to deal with this kind of nonsense. I wondered if the signal would still go to the other side even after the chip left the person's body. That means this person is not needed. It was fortunate that my appetite was growing while building the nest. I opened my mouth wide and bit into the man's upper torso. Perhaps due to my increased size, half of the man's upper body was distorted by the force of my strong jaw. Ugh. Brody could only tremble in shock, unable to even scream. Seeing a paralyzed person being eaten while still alive seemed quite shocking. The surrounding sewage suddenly warmed up. After biting a few times, only the head remained. Let's see. I grabbed the head with my combat arm, and with a forceful effort, the skull shattered like a smashed pumpkin. In the scattered remains, a black mechanical device was visible. I grabbed the device with my small hand from the chest. I stuffed the remaining pieces into my mouth, licking every bit clean with my tongue, even the tips of my nails. Having completely devoured the man, I handed 2 chips to the overwhelmed Brody. Wait. Now that I understood how the chips worked, the person attached to my arm wasn't particularly useful. This person, paralyzed with urine and drool, served only as a source of nutrients for me. As if he intuited what I was about to do, his eyes trembled with fear. I've always been like this, but I have no intention of showing mercy. While Brody watched, I efficiently consumed this man as well. It took only a few minutes to deal with 2 adult men. Having replenished the energy expended in building the nest, I handed Brody the newly acquired chips and devices. Hold this and move along. Yes. After watching his comrades being consumed, Brody obediently followed my instructions. He inserted the chips and devices into the gap in his mask. After sending him off, I moved towards another team. There was still much work to be done. Asterisk, 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 and nothing. We will move immediately. Tennessee turned off the communication device abruptly. Why do these pathetic beings fall so often? It's just walking, and yet they find it so difficult. This was already the 5th communication. These pathetic individuals, with their nonsense about stumbling and getting lost, were slowing down the operation. Using these weaklings in the operation was dishonorable from the start. If the individuals here were comrades who had fought alongside him in glorious battles, the unidentified monster would have been annihilated instantly. Darn it! Initially, this situation and operation were not what Tennessee had envisioned. I wished for revenge. Unfortunately, the commander to whom he pledged allegiance did not permit it. When you find him, capture him alive. Even participating in the support role for the defense force, the night squad was divided into 3 teams for the operation, but in reality, there were 4 teams. Team 2, under Jacob's command, and Team 4, led by Yannick, were mixed together. Team 4, equipped with weapons brought on board the fleet, was fully armed. Their mission was to secretly wait on the ground, and when the target was found, either capture the monster or disrupt the defense force's approach. As they were heavily armed, capturing the enigmatic creature was expected to be relatively easy. Catching the enemy who ruthlessly killed comrades alive. Even participating in a fight would be impossible due to the current circumstances, a reality that frustrated Tennessee. Tusk, I'll have to calm down after this cycle. Tennessee combed his hair, trying to suppress his anger. Strangely, being in this water made him feel feverish. Even though the sewer water felt icy to him, his current senses were deviating from the norm. Suddenly, he felt a rising heat and a dulling of his senses. Even if he had undergone genetic modification surgery, he could still feel hot and cold. The sewer water was undoubtedly icy, but his current condition was abnormal. His body was suddenly getting warmer, and his senses were dulling. Although it was a signal sent by the brain, Tennessee firmly believed that it was merely due to his anger. Even with perfect genetic modification, he refused to believe he could fall ill. Suddenly, he heard a sound in the water. Tennessee looked in the direction of the sound. Although it was filled with deep darkness, it was not a problem for him. Concealment was useless in front of the advanced, reinforced suit supporting various vision functions. Did I mishear? He tried various detection systems, such as heat detection and vibration detection, but nothing was caught. Tennessee turned his head again. At that moment, it emerged from behind and attacked him. Asterisk, 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 an improvised camp set up inside the sewer near the manhole. This place had shallow water, and the Knights of Team 1 had placed mechanical equipment and supplies for exploration and combat support. How's the communication equipment enhancement going? We did our best, but it seems it doesn't respond well underground. Well, maybe it's because of the EMP prevention system spread throughout the city due to the council. That seems likely. Anyway, let's do our best. Understood. Members and defense forces were diligently checking equipment, moving around the area. In the midst of this, Vicus was checking the cameras connected to each team leader. What's this? While examining the cameras, Vicus felt something strange and picked up the communication device. Team 1, Vicus here. Tennessee, the camera direction seems odd. Please adjust it. I understand. While you're at it, let's adjust the communication as well. There seems to be some noise. Yes. After a short time, the camera returned to its original position. Tennessee remained motionless, not even a slight movement captured by the camera. Seeing Tennessee's firm posture, Vicus secretly sighed. Well, he must want revenge. Vicus, as the vice commander, was well aware of Tennessee's sentiment of cherishing comrades. If Tennessee were a bit more composed, he might have been entrusted with the command of Team 4 instead of Yannick. Lost in these thoughts, a signal management device nearby started making sounds. Beep, beep. Is it him? This device indicated the path if the bait deviated from the predetermined route. The fact that the machine beeped meant that the monster took the bait. Vicus quickly picked up the communication device. Team 1, Vicus here. The monster took the bait. Team 2, Jacob here. Where are you? Where are you? The location is... Vicus, who was about to disclose the location, lost his words as he saw the signals on the monitoring screen. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. The signals deviating from the path were rapidly increasing. Chapter 70. Vicuse couldn't believe what was happening right in front of him, signals appearing consecutively on the monitoring screen. It was pure chaos. What is going on here? Although it was clearly an abnormal situation, Vicuse didn't immediately deploy Team 4. Assessing the situation takes precedence. Vicuse summoned the Crisis Management Team Leader and the Human Resources Team Leader, both present at the scene. A sturdy man and a neatly dressed woman approached Vicuse in the camp. "Take a look at this." "What is this?" Well, both of them sighed as they looked at the monitoring screen. They hadn't anticipated such a situation. Vicuse asked the vice leader, "Could this be due to issues like radio interference?" Recently, due to the EMP countermeasures, radio instability has been a problem throughout the city, but it shouldn't cause issues like this. Then, could all this be caused by deserters? The likelihood is slim, but probably. The vice leader hesitated in his words. Vicuse turned his gaze to the Human Resources Team Leader. The team leader shook his head as if to say it was impossible. It's impossible. Since they all have obedience devices implanted in their heads, they know they'll die if they desert. Then, can we confirm the deserters with the signals from the obedience devices right here and now? Are you suggesting comparing the two signals? Yes. Let me check. The team leader manipulated the terminal pad and connected it to the signal management device. After tapping the pad for a while, two types of signals appeared on the screen, overlapping in location. This shouldn't be happening. It seems like they've all deserted. Is that possible? Well, I've never seen anything like this before. The team leader manipulated the pad with an expression of disbelief several more times, but the results remained the same. Numerous signals were frenziedly dancing on the screen, rebels who refused to follow orders. It seems like all of this is happening only in Team 3. Was there an unusually high number of dissenters in Team 3? Vicuse wondered with these doubts in mind as he glanced at the team leader, but she was resolute that it couldn't be. At T&C Special Trading Hub, we always adhere to the principle of providing customers with only the highest quality products. Items discovered to be defective through strict inspections are immediately discarded without delivery. Vicuse thought his words were probably correct. If such incidents were to occur frequently, the Special Trading Hub would never be able to operate. Vice Commander, something seems off with the signals. Strange. When observing the signals from deserters, they seem to be clustering in a few places. They aren't moving as a group. Even if we assume that, they're too close. It's as if one or two individuals are carrying multiple devices and chips together. It's impossible for individuals to detach the devices. They're deeply embedded in the brain, so without special equipment, they can't be removed. Upon hearing their words, a fleeting thought crossed Vicuse's mind. It's a trap. The creature they were chasing was a very sinister entity. Although he didn't know what trick it had pulled, they shouldn't overlook the possibility that this situation was a trap created by the creature. He has various special abilities. Among them, he might have the ability to control humans. The Silver Knight Order of Eden had collected various genes for use in Hulk mutants. This meant they had experienced battles with extremely dangerous wild creatures several times. Vicuse himself had survived in intense battles where more than half of his comrades had died. Therefore, he never underestimated the enemy. Team Leader of Human Resources. Yes. In my opinion, the enemy might have set a trap. So I request this. Can we activate the obedience devices from here? Activating the obedience devices generated extremely harmful electromagnetic waves in the human body. The power of the electromagnetic waves was so strong that it could turn the brain into something resembling eggs in a microwave. Of course, there were no survivors if the brain melted. Even if the obedience devices are activated and the signals continue to move, it's likely that the creature is where the signal is. Vicuse judged that the creature had the signal device. Either it was controlling deserters in an unknown way, or it had swallowed deserters and had a signal device inside its body. In any case, it was certain that the creature was among the signals. The vice leader nodded in agreement with Vicuse's opinion, but the team leader showed an unwelcoming expression. He opened his mouth with neatly arranged eyebrows, clearly displeased. I might not be the one who promised the resources, but are you planning to waste such valuable resources? I wouldn't just throw them away. The one we're chasing is a highly intelligent biohazard. With its intelligence, it could easily use the deserters to disrupt signals. Is that true, Vice Commander? I agree with the Vice Commander's opinion. The creature has already escaped androids and police investigations several times in the harbor zone and residential zone. Exposing its scheme using decoys would be advantageous. If the obedience devices are activated, most of the signals here will likely stop. Among them, if there's a moving signal, that's probably the one the creature is sending. The team leader voiced a counter-opinion to their statements. We always maintain the maximum output of the obedience devices to prepare for unexpected situations. If electromagnetic waves are emitted, the signal devices should stop functioning, right? That's not a problem. Items manufactured for military use can withstand strong electromagnetic waves and shocks. Upon the Vice Commander's response, the team leader sighed briefly. Let's hope it's not a waste. I will activate the obedience devices. He manipulated the terminal pad, and shortly afterward, a message window asking to activate the obedience devices appeared on the screen. With a light touch on the pad, the various signals on the screen froze as if time had stopped. Those who had entered the sewer with the futile dream of freedom died in the filth. Where are you? Where are you hiding? The three of them watched the screen with bated breath. Beep, beep. He's here. At that moment, one signal on the screen began to move again. Vicus quickly raised his communication device. Team 1, Vicus. Inform Teams 2 and 3. The moving signal from the signal device is the creature. Send the standby units to pursue it. Team 2, Jacob, receiving orders. All right, understood. During the communication, Vicus secretly pressed a button on a small device hidden in his pocket. This would have signaled Yannick, who was on standby on the surface. I will not let you escape. Operation Ghost Hunt. Vicus believed that the operation would be successful without a doubt. Asterisk, 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 the human psyche is truly fascinating. Once suspicions arise, they seem endless. On the contrary, when belief takes hold, even a slight oddity can be easily overlooked, just like now. Before me, a makeshift structure made of bones had a silver helmet placed on top. If you were to ask where the owner of the helmet went, half would be in my stomach, and the other half would be finely chopped and attached to my combat arm. Things are going well. The enemies still have no idea what is happening here. I took a bite out of the knight's leg I was holding. Juicy flesh and juices flowed within the rigid armor, as if life were being extracted, much like peeling a crab. One advantage of being an amorph is having strong teeth, allowing me to chew on live creatures without the need for tools. Employees weren't particularly tasty, to be honest, but it's fortunate. Except for the person I implanted with parasites, I devoured around dozens of remaining humans. However, they all lacked taste. It wouldn't matter if they were tasteless, but the predator effect only activated once and never again. Still, I got a good trait, so I should take comfort in that. The trait I gained from devouring employees was called dexterity. As the name suggests, it enhanced the functionality of my hands to the point where I could engage in workshop activities. With the application of dexterity, the small arm near my chest became capable of various activities compared to before. For example, the bone structure in front of me, a product made from gathering bones and flesh of employees using the small arm. Fixed on the sewer floor with a shallow hole, it had enough durability to withstand strong impacts as long as I didn't create strong currents. As long as I didn't disturb the water significantly, the possibility of the bone structure collapsing was low. Thanks to this, I could comfortably place the knight's helmet on it and enjoy my meal. Modified humans do taste better after all. Shall we call it the threshold of taste? After eating tasteless things and suddenly consuming something delicious, it feels more than just good. It's as if a tune is involuntarily hummed. Having finished consuming all parts of the night, I picked up the communication device and stood up. By now, they've probably realized that something has happened underground over there. I first attacked 5 teams among the employees who entered the sewer, planted parasites, and waited until each team had completed their designated routes. After turning the designated points, they should be switching routes with each other. Once they finished their routes, all teams from the third squad would converge at one place, where they initially started, the communal area where I was until recently. Waiting for them was not a knight but me. After eliminating all except 5, I distributed the chips and devices obtained from the dead to those 5. One of them protested about being naked, but my solution was simple. Just swallow it. Growling, all 5 obediently followed my words. Only one of them, out of those who now stored devices and chips inside their bodies, remained. The rest were freed to go outside the sewer as they pleased. Escape is probably impossible. In reality, the future was predetermined, but they didn't let go of the thread of hope. Believing that somehow they could survive if they left this place, they left the communal area. It's about time to take care of this too. I grabbed a corpse maggot that was swimming in the water. The maggot resisted as I held it, but when I applied a bit of force, it soon became quiet. Holding the living maggot, I approached the only remaining employee to whom I hadn't let go. In the distance, I could see someone struggling through the murky water, and it was Brody, the survivor from Squad 15, the first one I attacked. Just in case, I had ordered him to move according to the originally planned route. As I approached, he trembled and handed me devices and chips. Is this enough for you to let me go, right? It was a question that didn't need an answer, so I didn't bother responding. Those present here would die anyway, even if the obedience device wasn't activated, as they were likely infected with cosmic bacteria from my body. Please spare me, huh? Brody, who had been pleading with me, suddenly stopped in his tracks. Then he grabbed his head with both hands. Og, it hurts so much, Aorg. Brody, seemingly forgetting I was in front of him, started screaming as if he had gone insane. Smoke emanated from his ears, and the hand tearing at his head turned a sickly shade of red. It's starting. They must have detected the deserter and activated the obedience devices. Seeing Brody, who was moving according to the designated route, suffering so painfully, it seemed like they were planning to kill all the employees from Squad 3. Next, I felt a strong wave and heat emanating from the obedience device in my hand. The electromagnetic waves emitted by the obedience device were quite powerful. Therefore, even just holding it caused significant harm to ordinary people. It was made for this purpose in the first place. I looked at the obedience device, emitting deadly electromagnetic waves on my hand. My body, being an amorph, was unaffected. Amorph's skin, even without special features, was resilient with high fire resistance, radiation immunity, and other favorable effects. It could survive in space for a certain period. So this place's only problem was the abundance of plasma energy, psychic powers, and numerous transcendental weapons in the space survival world. Anyway, Brody, who didn't have a brain as robust as Amorph's outer shell, couldn't resist the electromagnetic waves from the obedience device. Completely fried, he collapsed. I discarded the non-functional obedience device and fed the signal chip to the corpse maggot. Then I inflicted wounds on the maggot's skin until blood flowed, confirming its movements. Originally, I would use parasites. All 5 parasites I could use right now were dead. Since the obedience device was designed to melt brains, the parasites attached to the brain to control the person had no chance of survival. Even though they would be replenished, I couldn't use them right away. Therefore, I needed to monitor the movements of this maggot, which was now powered by the signal chip. It's a bait. Confirming the flow of blood, I released the maggot. It disappeared into the darkness of the sewer, squeaking in fear. I submerged myself to detect the scent of blood. The auxiliary organ under my chin easily picked up the scent of blood flowing in the water. They'll probably think the maggot is the monster they're chasing, with both the signal chip and obedience device implanted in one person. If the obedience device worked, the person died. If the signal chip moved, there was only one conclusion from their perspective, that it was a monster. Now they'll think I'm a monster that eats people, right? I'll take advantage of the fact that the above-ground team is likely to be in a state of disarray, pursuing the maggot in several groups. While they're spread out, I'll be right behind them. When they reach the wrong target and cheer, that's the moment I'll strike. Just like they set a trap for me, I set a trap for them. Just like they threw bait at me, I threw bait at them. This sewer will become the grave of arrogant enemies, the tomb of the Silver Knights.